We all could rise for the pledge. Tom, can you lead us the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and those souls that were lost due to the heinousness of Hamas against our friends in Israel. Thank you. Got to do the American Creed. Chris, can you lead us in the Creed, sir?
I believe
In the United States of America, as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon its principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, which all patriots sacrifice their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and defend it against all enemies. Thank you. Public comment.
Yes, we do. George Barnett.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick.
Uh-huh.
There are some folks that can't hear us here in the room. So just want to make sure we all, the mics work for people
Oh,
at
the room
home,
itself.
but the
Gotcha.
room itself can't be
Okay.
heard. So I've been asked to speak up, and I'm
Speak
not
up.
the only one.
Okay. All right. Closer.
Hi, my name is George Barnett, and I live at 435 Forest Trail. And I'm also a member of the Board of Directors at TheaterWorks in New Milford. I'm here tonight to talk about the East Street issue and how it might affect TheaterWorks. But before I do that, I'd like to hand out a brief history of the theater, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
The TheaterWorks Board would like the town council to keep the theater in mind as the town decides what to do with the East Street School building. TheaterWorks needs at least 60 parking spaces to accommodate the cast, crew, volunteers, and audience members when we put on a show. We would ask you to help us keep that level of parking so we can remain, a viable theater to entertain the citizens of New Milford and help local businesses. Without adequate parking, the theater may not survive. And finally, I'd like to recommend the current play at TheaterWorks, Scotland Road. It's a very different kind of play, but it's really well acted and directed, and if you're into the Titanic, it's a must-see. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, George.
Michael Anastas. Hello, I'm Mike Anastas at 21 Lake Point Drive, and I'd like to do a little meditation just now to think back, if you can, where you were and what you were doing in the fall of 2019, specifically September 2019. The students in Hong Kong were rioting. A lot of thought in the papers and the media about the election that was gearing up. There were deaths in Afghanistan. 40 people were killed at a wedding. And that is just a smattering of the news of that time. There was no mention of COVID. We didn't even know what COVID was. We hadn't heard about it until 5 or 6 months later when in February and March of 2000, we were consumed with the fear of COVID and everything that represented. During the discussion at the last meeting. The main reason was offered for not publishing the Peary Associates study about East Street School was COVID. What, how could we? It was COVID. Now, there was no earthly reason why that study could not have been published. It's a PDF. We wouldn't have to touch it. It wouldn't bring us any germs. Could be online. And really, we still don't know what the real reason was for suppressing that study. It's a fine study. It has a lot of fascinating information in it, as much as you're going to probably learn from the other studies that you're planning to conduct and pay for. It was a $20,000 grant from the state of New York, and yet it was never published. I think it's unfair to the public to not put it out, and I'd like to suggest that you tomorrow put it online on the New Milford website and let people read it. It's long, it's cumbersome, and a lot of the end part is handwritten notes from us, a couple, 3 dozen people that participated in the study over at the senior center. I was among them, which is why I was looking for the study to see what it was about. I've read it. I think you should too, and I think you should publish it. Or if not, tell us the real reason it was not distributed. That's all I got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Ms. Admiral?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Louisa Amaral. I live in New Milford, and I'm the owner of the building located 19 Church Street, as well as Root Chase Flowers, a business that has existed in New Milford for over 78 years and owned by me for 15 years. The decision by the town to sell the 25 Church Street property is causing me many problems for my building as well as my business. I am concerned that my business may be in jeopardy. I have worked very hard to have a successful business, but I fear that this may come to an end due to what is happening to me at this time. This is a time-sensitive matter. I understand that these questions cannot be answered this evening, and I ask at this time that this matter be placed on the agenda of the next town council meeting for discussion. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Lisa.
That's all, Peter.
Okay. Next is the consent agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion that all the council-approved items on the consent agenda be approved, which would be prior minutes, tax collector, the approving of tax funds, the balance of refund of $84,091.66, the October 10th, 2023 refunds are in the amount of $24,131.10, leaving a balance of $59,960.56. And then C, Park and Rec, the New Milford Park and Recreation are requesting permission to accept the following donations for trunk or treat. Donation of $100 from Canterwood Valley Motors, 514 Danbury Road. Donation of $100 from the New Milford Septic, 180 Pickett District Road. Donation of $250 from M&O Construction, 278 Kent Road. Donation of $150 from Gentile Tree, 458 Chestnut Land Road. Donation of $50 from Stop and Shop. Donation of $50 gift card from Home Depot. They are requesting that the donations be put in the New Milford Park and Recreation Gift Fund. And the New Milford Park and Recreation Commission would like to thank all the donors as well as us here on Town Council.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any expenses? Or any,
Always expensive.
oh no, expenses. Talking about. Okay, next is mayor's comments. I'll keep them very brief tonight. First is what we all know and is very important in all of our minds, and that is the heinous crimes that are happening in Israel. It is deplorable. It is disgusting. And I know the town, at least I can only speak for myself, so I'm hoping that the town council will agree that actions that violate human dignity, human basics, rape, pillage, destruction is not what humanity is about. And I know that we should support our fellow Israeli citizens that are both American. Over 100 of them have died. That we need to show our support. So as we did with the Ukraine, I'd like to do again here in New Milford.
Concur. Absolutely.
Okay. Next, just a couple of real quick items as far as infrastructure, what's going on. Jack is here tonight to talk about it. We're buttoning up some of our road programs. We should have, excuse me, Jack, some of the roads, the Bear Hills, when should they be completed? Towards the end of the month, I believe.
Our goal is to have everything done by October 31st. They were putting down the first course on Little Bear today. And they will be very shortly starting to pave Buckingham also. Burnett is 99% complete. And those are the last roads we have remaining for this year. So our goal is to be complete and done, picked up by October 31st. Now, if it ever stops raining, because I give the contractors some credit. If they have to come back to grade it and everything after a rainstorm, it's on them. And I will tell you, I was out on Sunday and talking to some of the residents and looking, and Little Bear looked in pretty bad shape, and by golly, by this morning they had it good and they were paving first thing. So, in Buckingham, I think Connecticut seal coating. I went up on Sunday. It looked pretty good. I think they touched up yesterday, so they're getting close. So, if it stops raining, we'll be done.
And what about Upland Road Bridge?
Upland Road Bridge right now, according to the contractor, he is on schedule. I'm a little concerned about getting the final pavement done because of the asphalt plants. But he says he's on schedule. All the beams, everything have been cast. They're being inspected. We've got the abutments, mostly done. There's some drainage work that has to be done. But he says he's on schedule to be done by mid to late November.
And then I know, Jack, we spoke earlier today, and we're going to be pushing it out tomorrow and Thursday. We're due for some more significant rain. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday could be 2 to 4 inches. With that being said, with the already very damp ground, this could be more continued flooding. So if you have already had flood issues where you currently are, expect them to happen again and try and be as prepared for them as you possibly can. Also with this storm, if it does track the way the forecasts are talking about, that this one will be accompanied with wind. And why this is very important is we still have trees on the tree canopy. You have a very wet base, and we will see trees fall. With that happening, obviously, we are one town of 169 in Connecticut. This is supposed to be a pretty strong storm statewide. This could be major power outages all over, which could lead to significant times for restoration. So I suggest if you do have electronic devices, Friday to charge them up as best you possibly can. If you have a generator, make sure your generator is fully fueled. And if needed, we will open up emergency warming shelters, charging stations. We're set for that, but hopefully the storm doesn't impact us the way that right now the forecasters are talking about as of right now. Make sure you have plenty of gas in your car. I would recommend filling it up Thursday, just in case. But that is very important. Jack, can you talk a little bit about the energy program that we're working with the Board of Education? We had our meeting on Friday with NV5 and ESG. Can you kind of let the council and the public know?
Yeah, well, the cogen systems are fully operational. We have one that's down now, but it's under an automatic repair that they monitor it and they will repair it. We have solar panels now on Sarah Noble School, on Hill and Plain School. We have them on the, up on the PD. We have them on the ambulance department building. The ambulance one is generating electricity, not, it generates some. We are starting to monitor those. We have to wait to get our final notice to operate on a couple of those, but we have them in place. We have gone through, replaced the lighting and all that. Right now, we are starting what they call the measurement and verification phase. They are working on that currently. The contractor is responsible to do an annual review. We have a person who we hired to watch that for NV5. They are responsible for doing a quarter report. What I'm working with them is I want a monthly report because the school and our finance department want to be able to track and see that those funds, that one, that they're getting the savings, and two, where are these savings coming from? You know, are we getting them only from one school? Where are we getting the savings from? So we're working on that type of a monthly report so that the mayor can have it, and that, you know, our finance department and the school's finance department can have that to review. We actually have gone in and filed, there's no cost to it, no risk to the town. We have filed for a phase 2 for the RECs, the renewable energy credits. So we have done that. We are starting to collect on the initial RECs. Last week I registered with the NE pool, North New England pool, and anyway, we're all registered for that. They are putting in, right now ESG is loading the data onto that so that we'll be able to follow the RECs and how they get distributed, and when I say cost, that the cost will be what we sell them for. So we are progressing down that, and we should be able to very shortly be able to report to the mayor on a monthly basis
And Jack,
what the savings are.
And Jack, just for those in the audience and our town council here, if they don't meet those marks and we are short, what happens?
They have to make good on it.
By giving us a what?
A nice check.
Exactly.
I would prefer not to get their check.
Me neither, but just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
there is that safety net of they would have to cut us the funding for the differential. And what's great is when we talked about this a few years ago, we were able to finance this through Bank of America, 20-year lease at 1%. And we all know where we are right now. The regular market, 7-8%. So,
I think maybe the first year's payment was paid for by all of the credits that we got. So we pay the first year on a loan with all the credits.
and Jack, lastly, we'll talk more about it when we get to traffic and the chief. But if you give us an update on the sidewalks, the grants that we have.
The sidewalks are out for, the inspector is out for bid. And when it was initially designed, the inspector was part of the contract. The contractor called about 2 months ago, and because there's better markets out there, they withdrew from being the inspector. So we worked with the state of Connecticut, and we put out a bid for inspector on the project. Once that bid comes in at the end of the month, we will go out for bid on the actual installation and construction of the sidewalks, and they are scheduled to begin in the spring.
Awesome. Hillary, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I just had a question about the NV5 entire deal. If somebody was really interested and wanted to know what that was all about, does it exist on the website?
It does, and what we
Yeah.
can do, Hillary, is we'll ask, because they're going to go to the Board of Ed, I believe. We'll ask for them to come here and give us an update too.
I mean, for members of the public, like
Absolutely.
who's involved, who are the players, because I think this started a long time
Yeah,
ago,
about
right?
3 years
Before
ago.
I was on
Yeah.
the council, so I'm just curious to know all the
Sure.
pieces that are involved, and if it could be online for the public to see.
I believe part of it is,
Okay,
I'm not 100%, but I believe part of at least the beginning part was.
thanks.
Sure. Anybody have any other questions?
Is this
Anything else?
during your comments or on this particular
On
subject?
this particular subject? Okay. Lastly, we talked about the sidewalks, and then I think that's pretty much it for mayor's comments for tonight. Next, we'll move on to, oh, I'm sorry.
So may I
I'm sorry.
please, you mentioned charging stations, so it brought up something I almost forgot about. an acquaintance come into town with an electric vehicle wanting to charge up at the station that's outside the library, and that's been offline since
It's been offline for about 2 years now.
March of
Might even be a little
March
bit later than that because
22.
it was right when they were doing this, beginning the major construction of the library.
Library.
Yes.
So is there hope of this coming back on?
Yes.
Is that why it was shut down, because of the library construction?
It was, in the beginning, it was shut down because of the library, and then we found out that there was parts that were needed, because if you shut it off, then you got issues with the parts themselves. This is a very old EV station, so it's just trying to get those type of parts to put it back in place. And with those parts too, we also asked for, because electric is so expensive now, that used to be free,
Right.
that we want to be able to charge to pay for the electric. So we're waiting for those parts to come in. We've also been speaking with Jack. Do you remember the name of the company where we're going to be putting in six of those stations at Patriots Way that we've been working
I'm
with?
sorry, I don't, senior moment, I don't remember the name of
I
it.
get it.
So we're working to put 6 over there as well. So that's just what
That's
we're
great.
waiting for.
But we have to charge, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's not something we could try to, it's just a shame that we have to charge, but,
And the reason being was I heard from a lot of people that pay for gas, that they didn't think it was fair
Fair.
that they get it for free when our electric bills are up 40-50%
got
from
it.
previous. So.
Okay. I thought people should know because it was interesting. I looked through
Absolutely.
minutes, and I didn't really see anything in our town council minutes to help me know that happened.
Absolutely.
So I missed that somewhere along the way. Okay. And the other thing is, you mentioned the rain. I'm very worried about folks because there are no resources for them, especially when water's seeping into their basements. Do we have anything? I know
So-
the fire department has a sump pump, but you gotta have water for the sump pump, and everyone's gonna want access to that.
So you do have the fire department, you do have businesses that do that. They come in and do the repairs. I did put a request into the governor's office because it's got to come from the president to talk about a disaster, declare a disaster area. It has to be a certain amount of funds that they believe they expend. I did ask because there were some residents that did ask for that. I haven't gotten back a response yet, but again, we're going to have more flooding again and more issues.
Okay. So we heard tonight from one of our businesses that's dealing with flooding water, and it's not just the rain, there's more going on there. Is this something that we can address at town council level in the near future?
I can have Randy DeBella opine on that. I've already
Okay.
asked him about that. I have spoken with Louisa. Because there is litigation, it makes it very difficult for us to talk about
Is there
something.
litigation?
There's attorneys that are on both sides that have been communicating with talks of litigation.
But there is no litigation.
I'm not privy to that because
Okay.
those are
I
are-
town council got the communications.
correct.
Okay. So I just want to do what we can for our business that's been here for a long time. And if there's anybody who can help with the situation, especially again over the weekend, I think in the future, probably there's a great plan for dealing with what's going on around her building. But right now, it's a huge problem. And I'm hoping we can help.
And is there
I
an
agree.
emergency management plan for flooding? Like, what is the protocol for?
So emergency management plans, in a bigger sense, is the river itself. That's a very big, as it cuts in the middle of New Milford. So we have strategy plans as if you have an incident where the water goes over the bridge. Where do we go between the north and south? So we have a plan for that. We also have a plan with flooding, especially in the Housatonic Avenue area, where we go either knock on the door or call, let them know that there's flooding and they may want to leave that area. The cars, dealerships that are in that zone of Route 7, we call and email them to let them know they can move their vehicles to Pettibone. Because one of the things we've seen before is flooding, and it could go up to the wheels of the cars. And if that happens, you may have some oil that may spill into the water courses. So we look at those operations. As far as if you have where people's homes have been interrupted, we have the ability to open up the MAX as a smaller EOC, a smaller shelter. If it happens to be a much larger event, then we would use the Sarah Noble School, which is our main one. And then also the police department has their protocols and standard operating procedures, as well as the Department of Public Works. And then we also work in tandem with Homeland Security, especially Region 5, which is our region. So everything is pretty much has the protocols put in place in case we do need them, which we hope we do not.
And with regard to the water testing that was done last Wednesday morning for the Aquarian customers, how did they find out that that was happening? Do you
That,
know?
I do not know. I did put a call into Aquarian to see if we could get a representative at the next meeting here.
Okay, that'd be great, because I don't think everybody knew.
Right.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other
I'd just like
questions?
to
Yep,
add,
Doug?
To the flooding, just from my own experience, and people can do their own due diligence. Obviously, we've had rain like we haven't had in, in 30, 40 years. Some of the basements that I've been in, people haven't had rain in their lifetime. So check your gutters, make sure your drain pipes are away from the house. If you do have a sump pump and it has a battery backup, check it in case you lose electricity. So have those. There are water sensors at Home Depot. They're $20. You put them around your basement. They have the sump pumps. You can use your hoses from your house. You can put them into either your toilet or down into your washing machine to help alleviate the water and stuff like that. So it's a problem with the water table as opposed to just a regular flooding around the foundations. It's actually coming up through the drains itself because of the water table around the house. So it's a tough situation to control because it's not a broken pipe or a hose. It's actually coming up through cracks or stuff like that. So just do your due diligence around that. Yes, Jack?
On that, you made a good point. Just remind people too, be careful with your septic systems. The water table is so high right now, you may find that your septic system is not truly backing up, but the water will come back up.
Right.
So,
Yeah, they have access where they can get out a window with the hose is preferable, but a lot of people don't have that access, so I tell them either to throw it into a sink or a sub pump. But yes, to address your issue, if they can get the hose out of a window and away from the house with the drainage, that's a good point, Jack. Thanks, Pete.
Great, thank you, Doug. Any other comments? Okay. What's that? Yeah, that'd be great.
I'd like to make a motion to, for the following appointments: Planning Commission, 4-year term, Timothy Harkin, 11 Meadow Ridge Lane, 1010 to 1/31/2027, and Jerry Monahan, 136 Second Hill, from 10/10/23 to 1/31/2027.
I'll
And
second
both,
that.
and Paul, could you speak a little bit about Mr. Harkin and Mr. Monahan?
I was appointed or elected to the Planning Commission back in 2019 and had the opportunity to work both with Jerry Monahan and Timmy Harkin, who both are exceptional individuals that know planning inside and out. When their term was up, I went to the mayor and asked to have Jerry Monahan reappointed, even though he wasn't a part of our Republican Party. He was a Democrat at the time. And I had him put back on the Planning Commission. Both of these individuals worked with the subcommittee to redo the POCD, the Program of Economic Development and Conservation. We went ahead and haven't had a meeting in the last couple of months because there's nothing in subdivisions coming up. But both of these individuals should remain on the planning. I am going to take and excuse myself or recluse myself from the vote, as I am the chairman of the Planning Commission. But I do hope that the council goes ahead and approves these individuals.
As they're already, have served already.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any
Paul, second, can you?
Yeah, I second.
Okay.
any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Next is, we have an update on town and state road safety, and we have the chief here. Chief, can you kind of come up and talk a little bit about what we've been doing so far as enforcement?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, and of course, our amazing community who's been very supportive of us in this effort. At the police department, we've been working from an education and enforcement perspective. Of course, engineering is the third prong to traffic safety in our community. We've had some excellent support from our local DPW and our state DOT. So everybody's working together and everybody's focused on one mission, improving traffic safety. lessening the number of injurious accidents within the community, and doing so through education, enforcement, and engineering. I want to give credit to our officers who have been working very diligently over the last 15 days. They have made 384 stops in our community. On Danbury Road in particular, they have made 270 stops. In total, they are giving out a lot of infractions, and that's the enforcement aspect of this. The officers have issued infractions totaling $35,000 in the last 2 weeks. That's town-wide. On Danbury Road in particular, it's been 30,000 of that. And that does seem like a lot, but officers are still utilizing discretion. They're giving infractions in about 55% of all stops. So could you imagine if they gave infractions in all of the stops? But again, education is a part of this formula. So the officers are using that option to educate people. Even when they give a ticket, they're educating people. They're lecturing them. They're telling them about the previous tragedies. And they're making them understand why we're doing it. Not that just we're out there doing it. There's a reason why we're doing it. So I want to give the officers a lot of credit. They're working a lot of extra hours on this project. I do have one officer assigned on Danbury Road specifically, 40 hours a week, stopping vehicles and enforcing traffic laws. I've also had a shift of overtime out there almost every day, and also officers just on their shift are still enforcing various motor vehicle laws. Now, other than speeding, we're also finding people driving without a license, for example. We've had 15 people that we've stopped in the last 15 days driving without a license. We've had people operating under suspension, operating without insurance. We've caught people going through red lights and stop signs. We've caught people with their headlights off. We've caught people variously violating many different laws. So overall, we think, and it's just anecdotally, the officers are reporting that there has been some effect, and they are seeing somewhat of a reduction. Again, it's not a scientific report, but it's them observing that and maybe having to work a little harder to find the speeders. But nevertheless, we do not think enforcement is the answer. We do think that it's enforcement, education, and engineering, and we're working on all of those aspects. We had a very good meeting with the state DOT a week ago, and a lot of good came out of that meeting. Number one, just opening that channel of communication. For example, I have a liaison who's been in contact with the DOT. And that contact came through the commissioner of the DOT, who was gracious enough to put us in contact with somebody who's going to help us move forward with grants, for example. We have just been issued a grant for distracted driving. We've been issued one for seatbelt enforcement. We've been issued one for DUI enforcement, and we're asking for more. We want some sort of grant money to help us enforce speeding. Now, there are no speeding specific grants, but the commissioner has agreed to open discussions to see if we can find a creative way to fund speeding efforts, because there is a cost to it. There's a budgetary impact. In the last 2 weeks, that impact has been about $4,500, and you can anticipate that as it goes on over months. So, we need to continue moving forward. This is a long-term issue. Yes, we've had a lot of short-term success, but we need to work in the long term to have and maintain traffic safety in our community. So the community has been excellent. We've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails, them telling us about traffic safety problems within the community, giving us suggestions on how to deal with traffic safety. For example, some people talk about mock accidents. Some people have mentioned signs telling people of a speed zone, or telling us about the cost of a ticket. People have been talking to us, and that's important because we need to hear from the public. They're out there all the time. They see and they know what's going on within their community also. So that's my brief overview. there is a lot going on, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the chief? Mary Jane?
So, maybe I missed it, what's the engineering piece?
Oh, the engineering piece is, again, multifaceted. Number one, we had our lights upgraded to a priority 2, and that's a short-term win.
And Chief, we saw, we had, I believe it was Friday or Monday, they run together, but we did have an outage of traffic lights at Sunny Valley and Route 7. And those were some of the lights that, Mary Jane, when we were on a level 5, it took 3 or 4 days. They were out there and they were repaired. I think the ones at Home Depot were too, in about 4 hours.
Yes.
So
that's a short-term win on an engineering side. The commissioner also informed us that the school zone has been approved in front of the high school. And I know Jack and I have been talking about moving forward with that. And that was another short-term engineering.
So what exactly is that?
A school zone reduces the speed in front of schools. And it also includes flashing lights during school hours to notify drivers that there is a school zone. It also doubles the fines within that school zone. And that school zone extends approximately 1,500 feet on either side of the school property. So it is quite a distance, and it is a drop in 10 miles per hour. So from a 45, it'll go down to a 35.
Okay.
So there's another example of engineering short-term win. On the long term, they're going to come in and do a road safety audit. So this road safety audit is going to include engineers from the DOT walking the area, studying the area, and working with us to determine what type of engineering aspects they can provide. For example, they mentioned traffic calming measures and things as
traffic lights
in the crosswalks. So all different aspects, pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle safety issues.
Hi, Chief. So there was an accident yesterday afternoon, Route 7 Tractor Supply. Speeding, can you say or not?
I can't say what the cause of that accident was.
That's okay, I understand, I just wondered. And it was yesterday, the traffic lights, right around school bus time. Yeah, okay.
Chris?
Chief, you mentioned at the safety meeting we had on the 4th, we were averaging on Route 7, 1 accident with injury per week.
I think that was within the town, yes.
Was that within the town?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. So, and, only a week has passed, so I'm not looking for an update, but going forward, I'd like to see, especially while we're doing this heightened enforcement,
Yes.
does that bring that down?
Yes,
At
of
all.
course, that's what we will want to
So,
see too. It'll
yep.
take time to build up to that.
Yep.
Since October 1st, we've had 1 accident with injury in town.
Okay. Thanks.
I have a much longer comment. It's not really a question for you, but I think I'll just, read it right now. I was at that meeting with your delegation, the chief. It was last Wednesday, October 4th. We had this public meeting. It was held here by the mayor. However, this meeting was not properly warned. And I have personally heard from a lot of constituents that they had wished they'd known about it. They would have been here. They had wanted to hear all this information. So I even saw some online chatter about, a poll of 65 to 70 respondents that didn't know about the meeting. So I think that the message I heard at that meeting was that accidents on Route 7 are the result of bad driving and irresponsible drivers. We don't have all the facts about the recent fatality, but the numbers alone, 232 accidents and 4 fatalities in 2022, and 3 fatalities already in 2023. We know this is not an isolated incident. It was stated that we need to have more education and enforcement, which is stated again. I do not disagree, but not in isolation. The design piece is essential. The mayor suggested that we stage a mock accident with the jaws of life at the high school in order to teach our kids a lesson. It is my opinion that our kids and the families have gone through a severe trauma, and this is not the time for such a thing, considering these circumstances. The Spectrum ran a headline, speed is a factor on Route 7. Speed is definitely a factor on this road. This road was designed for speed, and that is what we have. We have high speeds, nonstop, and everybody in New Milford knows it. I just want to say this very clearly. I don't think that any of that is going to change unless we change the design of this road. The high speeds are not going to come down. Numerous accidents will continue and more fatalities. Our kids do not need us blaming victims. They need us to create a safer environment for them to grow up in. The road design must be changed, and we don't need further studies. We have the data. We have the accident numbers, and we have a study from 2016, which we can talk about. The U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration agrees. They recommend changing these types of 4-lane roads with no barrier in between. They recommend changing those. They were built with wider lanes and fewer curves for increased flow through and speeds. They call this change a road reconfiguration. It involves reconfiguring the 4 existing lanes into a 3-lane roadway consisting of 2 through lanes and 1 center turn lane. I have a printout of this. It comes from the FHA. I will pass it out. It's a low-cost change. It would improve safety, calm traffic, provide better access for all the roads. I've been in touch with my contacts at the Department of Transportation to confirm the speed the drivers use on that stretch of Route 7. This is also known as the 85th percentile speed. Do you know what that speed is by any chance?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, it's the speed, the one that on our Route 7. Generally, it's the speed at which 85% of drivers will operate on a road, on open roads with favorable conditions. The assumption is that most drivers will operate their vehicle at speeds that they perceive as safe. We are not all crazy drivers. This road was designed for speed, and that is what we have. What road traffic engineers know is that speed limits really don't affect the speeds that a majority of people drive. Okay, it's a widened road. Route 7 has changed drastically from when it was widened and straightened in the early 2000s. When you were around, you were on this government, early 2000s, you saw all of this change happen on Route 7. More curb cuts, more commercial traffic, a lot of people making left-hand turns. So it's time to really make a change in the design, start saving people's lives, make it safer. Let's do this right. I recommend that we hold an official town meeting, properly warned, with the minutes recorded, and it would be really in our best interest to have members of the DOT come so that we can ask them questions about their 2016 study, which we should talk about, and about what they think now, what has changed. But I think that we need to do this for the public. I'm curious why the 2016 study wasn't mentioned, because in that study, there's an RSA already done in which they recommend more lighting. So this was in 2016, this was provided to us. They recommend more lighting, evaluate the access to Willow Springs condominium, investigate feasibility and installing a light at the Willow Springs condominium. And they also suggested construct sidewalks to complete the gaps. So this was all in 2016. So I'm not sure why we weren't referencing that study already and why nothing's been done since then. But I'm going to pass this along. This is the study from 2016. And I'll just pass these out if anyone wants one. This is the traffic. Yeah.
Are your notes written? Sorry?
Yes.
Are your notes written?
Yeah.
Tom?
So you're suggesting that after about 60 years of trying to get Route 7 into 4 lanes, that the town of New Milford is going to reconfigure a state highway on whose dime? Do you really think the DOT, after spending $90 million on this road, is now going to go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes? I agree with you.
What I'm trying to say.
Now, what you did say, which we have been talking in this room for a very long time, even before the road was done, there was supposed to be a traffic light in front of Willow Springs when it was developed, a long time ago.
No, in 2016 it was suggested.
That project was built a long time ago. The original developer was supposed to put a traffic light there, and they never did. That was a very long time ago, before everybody in this room was on anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
How is that relevant?
My point, right. So my point here is, your point of driving the conversation to the DOT about putting a light there that we have been demanding for a long time, I applaud it. I applaud it. The governor's mansion.
I haven't heard you guys bring this up once
The
about
governor's
wanting a light
mansion, because you haven't been here long enough, Hillary.
I
quite
have
frankly.
actually, Tom, so
You
show
really
me your
haven't.
communications with DOT.
We've been talking about this, I've been at this table for 14 years. You haven't been here that
How
long,
much does
and
it?
you really don't have
Tom,
enough of the history.
Tom, how much does it cost to put in a light?
I can,
How much does it cost?
It's not the town of New
Tom,
Milford's responsibility.
Tom.
This is the state.
I want to
Go
tell
to
you
your
something.
governor
Tom.
and to your
Excuse me?
legislature, which is run by the Democrats, and ask them for the money here
Tom.
for New Milford.
Tom, hang on a
I
second.
suggest that you do that.
Tom?
Go ahead, Mayor.
So the cost of the light would be over $500,000. We've been talking with the state for many years now about the light, about the need for it. The pushback has always been from them that the developer should have put it in, and they didn't, so they need to pay. You have a much larger budget than the town of New Milford has. It's a state road. It's your responsibility. Put a light in. Now, Hillary, it's a state road. It's not a town road. The state decides how they want to change things. They want to do a study, which is the audit that we are going to do.
They've already done one.
Hillary, I'm
In
just telling you what the
2016.
DOT commissioner said. For us to move forward on a state road,
Okay.
that they need to come in
Okay.
and do their audit.
And they're
That's-
paying for it.
That, absolutely. That's directly from the commissioner. It's their road, not our road.
It's our town, it's our lives. So we can push them
1,000%.
in certain directions of what we want.
1,000%,
So-
1,000% agree with you. The more of us that advocate,
Right.
hopefully, the better it will be in the entire outcome
Because
of the
since
town.
2016, we haven't put more lighting, we haven't done sidewalks, we don't have any more lights. So that road is a death trap. It has been since 2016, which is what this report shows. So I'm saying, time for inaction. You know, we must not have any more inaction. I don't care if it's a state road, it's our lives. We need to figure out how to get it done.
Well, the thing is, lastly here, then I'll turn it over to Councilman Cosgrove, is it's a state road. It's not a town road. We do not have the authority over a town, over a state road. That's why you have Connecticut Department of Transportation. That's why the chief, myself, our state delegation went to go see the commissioner, because at the end of the day, without their input, without their help, without their partnership, nothing will get done on that road because they control it. So all of us working together in a collaborative partnership rather than throwing out expersions isn't going to help DOT. They're not going to want to do business with us. So we need to partner with them, work with them to get this road fixed. Chris?
And let me just kind of clarify, you kind of implied that the plan moving forward was enforcement and education and a disconnect with engineering. That's not what I heard in that meeting. I heard that there is a three-pronged approach, and each one is important. And engineering is the most important. I think we all agree with that. But as the mayor's saying, it's a state road. It's illegal for us. We can't be like Cosmo Kramer going out and widening the lanes on this road.
Narrowing.
So we finally have the ear of the state, which we haven't had. And our delegation came back and said the state is very receptive to working with us, and a 2-month study. And a lot of things have changed since 2016 in this town and around the world. If they say they need a study, and it's not saying that it's 2 years, they're saying it's 2 months. And I heard this delegation say we're going to hold them accountable to that timeline. So
Yeah, I look forward to hearing that. I'm just saying, it would be nice if we all talked about it and got on, like, seeing their study will be important, but we have the 2016 study. We know it's not a safe road, and we know it's a high-speed road. So what I'm trying to get us to do as a council is say, what does New Milford want? What do we want to be advocating to Hartford for? So we should have our plan. We should be on the same page for what's the best road on there for us. And then we can, advocate for that.
I don't think any of us at this table are traffic engineers.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I appreciate your enthusiasm for this subject.
Excuse me,
But we've been doing this for a very long time.
We
The
need to
people
do
at
this
this
the right
table
way.
have been advocating like that.
Tom?
Shouting
We
Doug?
have
back
been
and forth
advocating.
is
Doug?
inappropriate.
No, just to be clear, and I know that you were at the meeting with the delegation, this has been something that even Mr. Buckby, Mr. Harding, and and Pat from New Fairfield.
Callahan.
Yeah, they've been screaming for the last few years. And unfortunately, because of this incident, the state has finally opened up their ears. They've kind of pushed, like a lot of people say, New Milford to the side because we're far away from Hartford and stuff like that. So you're correct. The mayor's correct is, we can't do anything because it's a state road. Unfortunately, we can't. We can sit here and scream and yell as a council, but our representatives are up there. They're our voice. We're trying to get them to, and finally, the DOT is paying attention. But through the steps of the state, there's a process. And we'd like to say, hey, let's put the light up tomorrow. With them, they're like, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. Unless you go up to Hartford yourself and start speaking to the delegation up there, we can't, as a council, do anything on that road, period.
But this is why I think we should have an official meeting, and the DOT should come here so we can all hear their answers to our questions together, on record.
Okay. Lastly, as we're talking about, right, Chief, you have your enforcement, your engineering. The last piece of it is, which we all can do. We could do it today, and that's called self-responsibility. We all put our keys into our car ignition, we start it, and we drive it. And we can regulate our speed, we can regulate our safety. I think that's an important component of this whole thing. It can't just be one thing. It's got to be a whole thing, whether it be your educational component, your enforcement component, engineering and design. It's all of this really working symbiotically to make a big difference. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked to the superintendent and the Board of Ed chair. They're looking on their end what they can do to help as well, especially our students. And we'll be continuing to update the council as we move forward with that. Any other questions for the chief? Paul?
The school zone, is that going to be carried down to Faith Church area also?
We are in the process.
So Jack,
of requesting
Chief,
that.
Jack,
Yes, it is. It was actually written for the July 25th Traffic Authority meeting. Unfortunately, that meeting was canceled. It did not get put on to the August meeting for certain reasons. It's going on at the Traffic Authority meeting for September. I'm sure they will authorize it, and then it will go to the State Traffic Authority. That's the process. I know that they turned the last one around for us in front of the high school. We have been going up in front of the high. Every school right now, other than Sarah Noble, is getting these traffic speed reduction.
Getting into Faith Church, it would slow them down as soon as they got into.
Yeah. So you'll have one at the high school, and then you'll have one at Faith Church, and they'll drop down to 35 miles an hour, and then the enforcement's up. The police can work with the enforcement. And Spence and I were talking before, the chief and I were talking before the meeting. It's been very effective on 202 and Litchfield in front of the center school. And one of the reasons is there was a policeman stationed there every day. And it's amazing between the enforcement and the signs, it's been very effective.
and then also too for the council and for those watching and also here in town council, we also have these school zones for all of the schools. And they'll be put on the town roads as well. Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Next is the East Street School update. So Jack, and also see if I can do this computer myself as well. Mike, I ask for your help.
I got a train down this afternoon.
You want to do yours first?
PowerPoint, you want to do the
You want to do yours first?
drone thing?
Okay. I don't see the drone one there.
You have to go down. I think it's
Store and go, that's what you want.
This one here?
Yeah. You should be on it.
I don't see the one for the
The
drone.
street school photos, the list building. Is that PowerPoint that's right there?
Oh, he's looking for a video. How about a video here?
we gotta go to desktop.
Oh. Mike, where am I going here?
People trying to.
You want to take the controls?
Not my training didn't go far enough, Mike.
Mayoral Road Bridge, drone footage?
Drone footage. Calling a 5-year-old.
Okay.
So start with the first one.
Is there gonna be sound on this, Pete?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I have no idea what the volume is gonna be, and it might blow out, yeah.
Like training on it so far.
Give me a second, Kat, before you want.
I said, that's why that's why I give you the big bucks.
Yeah. Is he the one taking over the business?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Bear with us, folks, we'll be with you in a minute.
It's fun. I was talking to Steve when he's not there. It's on a Sunday. I stopped by his house for Sunday. Yeah. Because I was supposed to do my building.
I know. I'm just waiting for Mike to start.
Well, that's why you guys are good at what you do. You like what you do.
Yeah.
But nobody likes the paperwork side.
Ready for me to click that?
No. Pete, are you gonna be?
Thank you.
Okay, guys, go ahead.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is give you kind of at the beginning, an overview. These are some aerial drone footage of East Street School itself. So you can see that's the back of East Street School. It's now going to the side.
When was this taken?
I think it was late spring, early summer, the outside.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, is this going out to the public right now?
Yep. This kind of gives you the breadth and the width of the building. So you can see that's a slate top.
That's the stained glass window there?
No.
No, stained glass is
Other
on
side?
the other side, Chris.
Okay.
Zoom into the cupola.
What are we seeing on the roof coming down from the cupola, those lines?
Jack?
I think that's, well, there's paint peeling off of it. Oh, on the bottom, it's just
The dark
materi-
lines, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, there's some material coming from the roofing that's just staining that.
Okay.
I will say one time there were some birds living up, when I went to crawl up and there were birds living up in there.
In the cupola?
Yeah, they've since sealed it up.
That could be a reason why stuff's dripping out of it. That was beautiful at one point, I guess, yeah. Hmm?
Yes, it is.
Did you? Really?
I believe it is.
Can you get any of the new slate roofs in here?
You do.
Do they? Okay.
Usually in Roxbury,
Yeah.
it's not cost efficient, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the,
But it must last forever though, yeah.
So did you say this is a slate roof?
Yes.
And when was it put on? Do we know?
I'll take a look in we have it in the design, right? Doesn't it say when it was?
What, the building?
No, the slate roof.
It's in the report, I didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what a normal expectancy of a slate roof is? I mean, who puts a slate roof on anymore? Nobody.
I think it was in the report, it's 50 years.
50 years?
There's a report, I think it was 50.
That's the roof line. And then Jack, could you pull up the one where we do the close-ups of the cupola? Here we could see some flashing that's pulled off.
Looks like it's been patched maybe?
Some erosion.
Yeah. Any idea what kind of wood that is, Jack?
No.
It's definitely not pine, I'm sure.
I got up there, but I crawled around in it, but I don't.
Jack, is that set on top of the roof, or there's actually access through it?
Oh, you can there's a ladder, you go up inside.
Okay. Pigeon.
Yeah.
So is this the original cupola? Do we know that? Or is this the original?
I'm not sure.
You don't know? Kind of looks like it might be with all the...
Yes.
It look, I'd be hypothesizing this.
2019 it was the original.
It's the
So I'm
original.
sure
Yeah, then
that-
it's still
It
original.
is the original.
So I'm sure it wasn't replaced since then.
Just missing the finial.
It's in the downstairs.
And that window is blown out, so
Here?
they put plywood there.
Oh, it's in the basement.
So Jack, we are getting some rain in there, right?
A little bit, yeah. Yep.
I'm shocked with the winds we've been having these last few years.
It didn't blow off.
It's almost 100.
I think yeah. Maybe it was the 30s.
1931.
Okay, yeah, so it's almost on.
That's gotta be original.
So is that a copper roof that's on there? Copper?
Yeah. The finials in the basement.
And
Okay.
then, Jack, can we go to the photos? I think that's in the other. That's kind of the outside of the building itself.
You want yours?
Yeah. I don't know what order these are in, but we can go. So this is some of the pictures that we can see in pictures. This is in the main hall. Oh, sorry. This is part of the WPCA. The paintings, they're absolutely gorgeous. This would be on the main floor. So if you were to come in through the front doors, you'd go up the stairs. That would be the main hall where you'd have your administrative offices that were there, classrooms, and this is above the doors of some of the classrooms. Absolutely beautiful. That's the stained glass that's currently in the building, in the stairway. It's absolutely beautiful. And this is in pretty pristine shape. And this is one of the classrooms. That's another classroom. I believe this is on the main floor. And there's some of the wood, and that's just lots of people used it back in the day. There's the same, this is the main hallway in the, really the main floor, second floor. And you see it goes out to, there's really 2 exits on each end of the hallway, and then there's the middle staircase that goes down to the front doors. And this is one of the classrooms. There's one of the beautiful paintings or pictures that were there. Again, you can see some wear, just basic wear and tear. This is where we're seeing some leaks. And I believe this was in the middle floor. And here's some of the plaster that has come off. A lot of these classrooms were plastered due to the moisture content. You've seen some of the, am I right, Jack? Seen some of the plaster coming out?
Yeah.
And if you could talk a little about effervescence, so that those that are...
In the reports, there's discussion about moisture content, and it's low, on the lowest floor, it's the highest, and as you work your way up, it's a little bit less. On 3 of the 4 floors, it's above what ASHRAE would say is a reasonable range. And with the moisture being in the brick and the mortar, you get this effervescence, which is the moisture coming out and taking the lime and base materials out and bringing it out to the surface. You'll see it often in brick walkways and brick walls and things. So this is one example of the effervescence.
You can see it right on the bricks there. Again, it's kind of a different, a more wide shot view. Again, picture one of the classrooms. Again, this is a different area where you have the water. And there's the other side. This is on the far side where the stained glass. This is on the other side going down. And there's the stairwell. Again, some of the WPCA paintings. Classroom facing the other way. Another classroom. Picture of a safe. Nice picture. That's kind of looking out the window. One of the, what is it, air handlers maybe?
That's an air duct, yeah.
Yep. Again, another classroom.
I think you're coming down now, Pete.
Yep. And this was in the clock where they did attendance, right, Paul?
This sets all the alarms off for schools, classes.
Yep. And then there's some more, see some more mold. There's mold. This is up in the second floor. Here's above the windows. You can see some of the deterioration.
Oops. Skip one there.
Clock again. I believe this is the 3rd floor, maybe, I think?
Yeah, I think it's the 3rd floor on this one.
Yeah.
As you go up, the 3rd floor, that was the only floor that's under the ASHRAE range for humidity. And from what the report was, it's not like it's a grossly under, it's just marginally under the ASHRAE level. Not in the basement.
And that's the, right, Jack? That's part of the basement?
Yep.
And that's the flooring? Gym area. You can see some of the plaster is now off.
I have a question
That's the back.
about the plaster. Where else have you tested? I know that you said there was asbestos in the boiler room. In the old days, a lot of the building materials, including plaster, cement, had asbestos in it. So have you done any testing of the plaster
Yeah, it didn't come back with asbestos in the plaster.
Okay.
A lot of the other parts of the school did, but the plaster did not.
And what else, what were the other parts?
Insulation of the materials, some paint, believe it or not,
Paint,
the glazing on the window, the beautiful window, that
Yeah.
has asbestos in it. Some of the glazing on the other windows, the floor tiles, the mastic under the floor tiles, the glue daubs on the backside of the blackboards, the black science, remember those tables that we all had in science class in, those were asbestos. There's part of the report, they did a study of the school and amount of asbestos. Excuse me?
Is it a spline ceiling that's glued with the glue dots?
In some, the spline ceiling, the glue daubs themselves.
Like
Yeah.
Petty Bone.
How about lead, Jack?
I'm sorry, what?
Lead?
There's lead paint. So any type of work we do here, it's got, the list of things that you have to do ahead of time. Yeah.
And Jack, if you could talk a little bit about right there where your cursor is just up a little bit, where it looks like the trim,
Yeah.
the damage there.
There's damage in this section from moisture infiltration from the last year. This part of the building is above the boiler room, and I'll have a picture. In order to keep the boiler running, they were only able to run it. The boiler's rated for 15 psi. They're running it at 2 psi. Talking to Matt, and I can show you a picture. I have a picture in my slides of the separation in the boiler and what it ran like. So when you're running it, there was steam being generated that was escaping the boiler continuously as they were running to try to heat the school.
Moisture loading everything.
I'm sorry, what?
It just moisture loaded that entire room plus
Yeah,
everything. other
you'll see
surfaces.
the picture I have of what it runs.
Jack, quick question. So has the building been winterized with the colder weather coming? Have you drained the lines? What's going on there?
That's my recommendation to them. In my presentation at the end, I'm recommending to the school, we drain all the moisture, all the water out of the school. Nobody, we basically mothball the school. Everybody's getting out. Camilla's cover is being relocated. I've talked to the fire marshal, the building official. I've got a letter to Kerm. I'm asking for their advice. We would lock the building. We would inspect the building, make sure it was secure, and we would basically, mothball it until the town makes a decision on how they want to go forward. Any work that you try to do to repair, like the boiler or anything now, it's not as simple as going in and repairing a boiler. You've got to go in, and I have some pictures of what the boiler room looks like with the mold and everything. You'd have to do an entire remediation, tent it, go in, and remediate the boiler room.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical. So there's obviously sprinklers in the school?
No.
There's no sprinklers in this school at all? Okay. So like fire, we don't have to worry about having the water in case there was a fire. So it was never updated?
No. In fact, in part of Dean's report, he recommends if the building is to be renovated, they put sprinklers in.
Okay.
Jack, can you go down to the, I guess, what is it, the boiler room area? Oh, wait, there's the cupola we all just saw versus the drone footage. And there's there's the front of the Lillis building, East Street. There's the front.
You want me to skip down out of this one then?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is the bottom, right, Jack?
This is a gymnasium.
The gymnasium, you can see the hole. This is the gym floor itself, where the stage area used to be. Now you can see some of the plaster has come off. There's the other part of the gym floor, the stairs going up to the main hall.
Is that floor cupped? Is it cupped itself from the moisture? Or is it still relatively flat?
The gym floor, I think the gym floor is
okay.
Is okay.
Except where Camilla's stored their stuff. We're above the boiler, and that's where, I don't know if we have a picture, Jack, where you'll see it.
I do in mine.
Okay. And Jack,
Oops, so you want to go back?
if you could go back. What is, so those that are watching, what is that?
You mean, this is the wall,
Yep.
and they're patching the wall in those areas. You can see right here, you got the bulging of the ceramic tile,
Yep.
and they're fixing the ceramic tile in that area.
Okay.
Is that mold there in the corner or no?
I don't believe that's mold there. I think that's the pattern on the tile. I got a slide that shows you what the mold looks like on the wall. Now here's,
This is the kitchen area, Jack, if you could talk a little bit about that.
well, this is the kitchen area. This is some storage and cleaning supplies. You can see, again, you have some mold. You have mold on the walls, damage with the moisture infiltration. This area was, again, the boiler room is the worst as far as moisture. This would be this is like a half floor up, and so there's moisture damage in this area too. In the report that comes from Fuss and O'Neill, it says that the moisture damage, there's evidence of historic moisture damage. This is not something that happened, yesterday. It's historic.
It's in this report.
Okay, you got that? Okay. You probably have the same report I'm referring to. This is go ahead, Mayor.
Nope, this is stairs going down to the boiler room. There.
This is in the entranceway. If you came in off the back parking lot, to the left of the boiler room building, there's a doorway in. This is right above that doorway coming in. This is actually in the basement.
Yep, it's where it used to be one of the bathrooms. But you can see that, if you go back there, Jack, for a
Oh, yeah.
second. But you can see the wall is, looks like part of it's been knocked out and eroded. But you can see all the rubble that's on the floor. And
I'll go back.
Jack, if you go back there, if you could let everybody know, I think up towards the top, you could see some of the mold, right?
Yeah.
There's again some of the plaster. There's the,
Whoa. There's the paint peeling off.
yep, it's paint peeling off.
There's the boiler.
There's the boiler. And Jack, if you could talk a little about what a cracked boiler running would look like.
Well, I have a good picture of it later on.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I have that one.
Now you can see the damage done with the moisture from the boiler. Jack, for those who don't know, what are we looking at here?
There's a break in the floor that's being used as a drain right now. Now that's fiberglass insulation there.
I have a question. For all the people that have been exposed to the mold, the asbestos, et cetera, the lead, what are we going to do for those people? Are we going to be monitoring them? Is there any, has OSHA been notified of this?
Mary Jane, that is a phenomenal question, one that I raised myself. And it could be a potential future liability.
Yeah, I would say.
As the special ed moved out, I believe in 2017, and through FOI, I obtained the study that they did, the air quality study in 2017, and they were concerned then. So could there be future litigation, future liability? Absolutely.
Does OSHA have anything to do with
I can't
this?
quantify that. Because they weren't town employees, so I don't know. I do know that people went in and out of that building even afterwards. So I couldn't quantify that for you.
Does the town have insurance on this building?
Absolutely, through Kerma.
So have you ever put in a claim for any of the?
We haven't had, as to date right now, as I'm knocking on wood, we haven't had anybody file a claim. And hopefully, God willing, no one has gotten sick because of the building. And hopefully we don't see future claims. But to answer your question, Mary Jane,
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen in a few more years.
Yep.
You know, or how much their exposure actually was, and some people
Absolutely.
are, you know, more sensitive to exposure than other people.
Which,
And,
Mary Jane, I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's been some conjecture, especially lately on social media, as to why I closed it down. And when you look at the emergency order, you don't see where it says close it down, right? So what I did do, when we did get this and did get the report back, was I actually asked our DPW director, I asked our health department, and I asked our town attorney, should we close this down? And all three of them, Jack, am I correct? Adamantly said yes, for the liability. But we do have some people that are conjecting that, you know, why would we do that? It's not in the auspice of the town. How does Pete have the ability to do that? And I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is a health issue. Absolutely.
And you own the building.
Correct.
So,
100%.
ultimately, it's gonna fall on the town.
Absolutely.
So you just.
It needs to be closed.
and
Hillary?
The report you just said you FOI'd, the air report that, and so could we all see that?
Absolutely. I'm
So
gonna
when
give
you
it,
realized that people potentially were in danger in 2017, what did you do?
so Hillary, I didn't get that until the end of July of this year.
Oh.
I requested it. And Dr. Parlato, thank you, gave me that, because I said, are there any other studies that was done previous to us taking this over? Because now that we saw mold, I have to disclose that to the public. That's just a regular course. You know, in my previous life, if you were financing a home, you're the homeowner, you better disclose that you have that. And being the owner now of the building, so to speak, where we control the responsibility of it, that's what I asked for. Then I asked again, do you guys have anything? Have you guys tested anything previously, just so we can see where we're at?
I'm just wondering why we're having this right now without the Board of Ed here, because it seems like a very disjointed, because we want to hear, maybe they notified you. I mean, we don't know, I don't quite understand why we're
So
doing
Hillary,
this.
I'm not,
Okay.
all I'm doing
I'm just
today is
confused, yeah.
alerting the town council, right, of what the state of the building is today. This has nothing really to do with the Board of Education anymore, because they don't have the ownership of the building. The town does. What I'm doing, because, as I said when we took over the building, was I'd love for us all to walk in there. Right now, we can't walk in there. So what I did was the next best thing. We had pictures taken. We did a drone fly. Now Jack is going to talk a little bit about, we just got in, which you guys will receive in the public. We just got in the new hazard report. And we just got in Dean Petroselli's, what he believes is going to be the cost of just being able to open up East Street School again. So that's why I'm bringing this stuff up
Okay,
tonight.
so it hasn't materially changed since 2019?
Oh, absolutely, the
Oh,
building
it
has.
from this report,
It's degraded significantly.
Okay.
And the most significant degrade, and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, was between November of this year all the way until the boiler stopped running at the end of this month.
That's the
Or
most.
not the end of this month.
Yeah,
The most of the degrade when it
building
came to
at that time.
mold, to plaster that was still on the wall, was because you had that boiler going at 2 PSI. Jack, can you show them what
So you had a
that
picture
looks like?
before and after? You had a picture of in November and then after? Is that
I
what
wasn't
you're
taking pictures in there, Hillary.
saying? So who gave you that information that it's the most extreme moment was in between?
So
those
Hillary, I
months?
could tell you in 2017, I was in that building. I myself looked around in 2017. Because don't forget, that place was open. You know, we had voting that was happening in there. So I went in there and I saw it, and there was nowhere near the damage that is done now. And you can ask anybody in the building trades, when you have even a little bit of mold, which that building did have, it's 1930s building. But when you allow that, yep.
The fuel.
Can you walk?
It's a sectional boiler, there's multiple sections, and so there was I'll just run. This was taken in November of 2022.
And so, when you have that much steam going into the system, and you already have mold plumes in there, it is going to explode.
Feeds it.
It just feeds it.
It
Chris?
also spreads the asbestos too.
And
It spreads the asbestos,
sure does.
fine particles in the air.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I want to go back to Mary Jane's point, which I think is a really important one. If there's people at risk that we now know, is there any way we can get a list of names and people can start getting chests, baseline for chest
Chris,
x-rays
I
just to
wouldn't
monitor them?
have those names. I would defer to the board with employees that they had
Right.
that were in that building. As far as quantitatively to the town side, since we've taken over that, it's been extremely minimal.
Right,
People in there at all.
right.
Volunteers.
And you had volunteers that were in there, absolutely.
Covered.
Can I ask a question, just for clarification on Mary Jane's point? You mentioned something about lead. Now, from my understanding of lead, unless you're eating it, you're swallowing the chips, or you're sanding it and breathing it in, you can't get there's no effect from lead paint unless you consume it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Right. Now,
But
as,
there's asbestos in the plaster, and the asbestos gets aerosolized.
that's a different story for asbestos, right. If it becomes friable and it starts to fly and it is airborne, yes, that is where you're getting severe damage to your lungs. On the mold side, asking a nurse, isn't it mostly an allergic reaction? I mean, do people get exposed to mold and then they carry something forward? I've never heard of that. I think it's more of an allergic reaction when you encounter mold. Is that correct? I mean,
I'm not a big,
You can
I'm not an
disturb
allergy mold
and the
expert.
spores, you can
Sorry.
disturb mold and the spores will become airborne.
right.
So you can breathe in the
And
spores
it's
of
the
mold.
black
Only-
mold that's the.
But is it a
then-
permanent condition after breathing in mold spores for you to have some sort of condition that would trigger somebody to come at the town for
Well,
permanent
you
damage?
could-
I have never heard of that.
You could develop an asthma-type condition, as a result of it. I'm not saying, I'm not an expert, I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor, so.
No, I'm
I
just,
mean, you'd
that's why I'm
have
just
to-
bringing it up because it's not something that.
But it is something the Department of Public Health could
Right,
definitely
yeah.
help us with.
Right.
Well, I've
And
dealt
that-
with
and
some
that's why Mary Jane,
mold
when I did
remediation,
speak to
and I
them
know
with Jack
that
and with
it's
the
no
attorney,
joke.
they were just like, shut it down, don't let anybody
Well,
in.
right, I agree. I don't think you had an option. It had to be shut down.
Chris?
So that video is pretty powerful. I mean, basically, is that what it was doing for roughly 6 months straight?
Yeah.
That steam coming out of there?
This video was taken, I think, November 16th of last year, 2022.
And it ran like this for how long?
Was
The winter.
And Jack, you made a point that it's a historical mold where it might have been over a long time, and from the experience that I have, when mold gets into an interior wall, basically it's a total gut. I know you're gonna go through that, but from what I'm seeing here, obviously, I'm not an expert, I've dealt with mold and remediation, but that building probably gonna need a total gut, right down to the frame of the building,
Alex?
which is pretty costly.
We're talking about things that were going on when it was the Board of Ed that was in the building. And I think we should be having the Board of Ed here and Matt Cunningham
Yep.
and the superintendent, because
I
I feel that
appreciate
they
that.
might be able to answer questions.
And you know what, Alex,
That's
as we
all.
continue to move through this process, we'd be more than happy to invite them in here. Absolutely. More
I
than
just
happy
think they could be speaking about this because that was when it was still in there.
So
Because
tonight, all we're trying to do is give a background of when you hear the costs, you understand why the costs are the way they are. I mean, this is a town building. Town now is responsible for it, but I want you guys to have a frontline view of this is what it looks like. And we couldn't walk in there due to the fact of the mold and the issues. Jack,
It
can you
doesn't
talk a
matter
little?
if the Board of Ed is here or not. The building is what the building is, and it's our responsibility now. So no matter who is here to defend what they did, there's no way you can defend the fact that you ran a boiler steaming the entire building for 6 months and creating a mold factory. I'm glad they're not here, because I'm sure it wouldn't be a pretty meeting, because they let this happen. You were on the Board of Ed. You know this happened. You know the type of money that was put into those Board of Education budgets. And it,
Turn it around.
I think-
Look at, sorry, this
Who-
town.
we let it happen?
The town let this building.
once again, you haven't been here long enough to realize in their budget for maintenance
It's
of
a
buildings,
town-owned building.
they have never fully spent that money
And-
on
and-
maintenance.
Hang on,
Okay?
Tom.
So once
I think the
again,
good thing,
history
before
needs to
Jack
be
gives
brought
this whole
forward.
thing, Hillary, I 1,000% agree with you. I'm gonna say 1,000% agree with you, because I do believe that all of these buildings are town buildings.
That's right.
And I do believe that the town should take ownership and they should run the facilities, which I've been asking for since I became mayor.
We've been asking
So
for
I
this since we were in the
1,000%
town
agree with
council.
Well, you should have a MOU.
Well, and you specified that before, October 30th, we're all going to meet as boards and start discussing this and have the conversations and see how all of it can work.
Right.
Okay, what I did, I put together a short PowerPoint of the 3 reports that we've had done in the last couple of months. I just wanted, and they're summaries. I did not give you verbatim, it's just, I took the high points for you. We've done 3 different reports. One is a limited indoor air quality report, and you asked last time about the limited. All that is that's their way of saying they haven't looked at everything in possibly an Appendix A analysis. The consultant was not restricted, but based on their knowledge of a building, they're looking at certain things, so that's why it's called limited. It does not mean that we limited them in what they were doing. Okay? I knew, because I said, I was asked that last time. Limited hazardous materials inspection, that is for the lead, asbestos, mercury, PCBs. And then building conditions assessment, this is Silver Petrocelli, Dean Petrocelli just recently did a study of the building. The limited indoor air quality report summary, carbon dioxide concentrations are acceptable. There was no carbon monoxide concentration. I will say at the time the boiler wasn't running, but there was no carbon monoxide measured. The humidity measurements in the basement, the lower level and up through the second, the lower level, the first and second floor are above the ASHRAE recommended range. Highest concentration in the basement. Again, the third floor is below the range, but it's marginally below the range. It means that you have a lot of moisture built up in those areas. It's in the building materials, it's in wooden, anything with a pore in it, it's built up there. We've got suspected mold growth noted in the basement and several lower locations. And this is, again, the historic evidence of moisture issues throughout the building. This is not something that happened this year or last year. It goes back many, many years. The limited hazardous materials, building materials inspection, study limited to asbestos. You can see that lead-based paint, PCB ballast, and mercury-containing materials. That's what it looked for. We didn't look for anything, volatile organics or anything like that. The asbestos was detected in the floor tile, mastic, science countertops, window caulking, roofing materials. Yeah, roofing materials, there was quite a bit in the roofing materials. Pipe insulation, paint, window glazing on the stained glass window. I made that point because if we want to save that window or work on that window, we have to make sure the contractor's aware that there's asbestos in that and the joint compound. These are things that you would normally look for. This is not unusual in an analysis. Lead-based paint detected in coated building components. Basically, anything was painted had lead-based paint. Looking at the age of the building, it doesn't surprise me. Again, this is something you would expect. PCB containing light ballasts were identified. And again, the age of the building, I would not be surprised unless you have a very diligent process where you go and you go through all of your light ballasts and pull the ones out. So what happens there, if there's a light ballast that's not listed as non-PCB, it's presumed PCB, and you have to handle it as a PCB-laden material. And then the last one is mercury-containing equipment. That's in your lighting systems and the lights, the starters, electrical systems. So we did find those were found in the building. Again, nothing. Well, a lot of that's not unusual. That's what you would expect to find in a building that age. Buildings condition assessment. This is by Dean Petrocelli. He did a detailed, and I summarized a rather thick report in like 3 or 4 lines. A detailed review.
And tomorrow morning, you guys will be getting all these reports.
The detailed review of the building components. The building, in his report, says he considered it to be fair to poor condition. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing components are past their useful life and will require significant renovations and restoration work. Now, in his report, and you'll see it, he breaks out the cost for different ones. The mechanical systems alone, he's looking at $2 million, just for those. The estimate to restore the building up to code was $12,135,000. The important thing to know is this in parentheticals. This does not include environmental cleanup. So this does not include that anything would go in as far as the lead, the asbestos, cleaning, going through the building and decontaminating it. Architectural and engineering fees, which I would expect to be significant, and the cost of a construction manager, if you so choose to hire one.
Now, when he says up to code, does that include the estimate of putting an elevator in the place?
Yep, it's in there,
Okay.
it's in the report, yep.
For ADA.
ADA, yeah. And that's, you asked about the sprinklers, that's in the report. Okay, you've seen this. You can see in the piping, you got some there's asbestos in this material. It's not here, but up in here. You can see the mold that's developed on the pipe insulation. This is actually the boiler room, so this whole area would have to be decontaminated before anybody really did a lot of work. I talked to Miguel about this. He's our industrial hygienist, and he outlined what would have to be done. Again, piping it down in the basement, in the area of the boiler. You see some mold has grown on the insulation there.
It's got asbestos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's a double whammy. This is the entrance. I think the mayor's photo had a photo similar to this coming in the back door. This is the stairway going down. Same photo that the mayor had. Right here, you can see above the boiler room, the floor has buckled from the steam coming up through the floor. You can see some damage to the floor in the area above the boiler room in this area. This is a storage area. You can see water damage in the storage area along the floor, the back wall, along this floor here. There's a table here, which was food from the Camilla's cupboard. I went underneath the table, took a picture of the mold on the wall and underneath the floor, underneath the table. This is the ceiling. You talked about the glue daubs, more damage to the ceiling in this area. Another area. I think this is on the half floor at this point. You can see the mold on the wall and the floor here. So the mayor, and the reason I'm here is that the mayor had asked me, what is your recommendation? And I want to be clear what my recommendation was. Move all activities out of the building. I would do it in my past. I've done that for Ingersoll Rand. I've told them when you need to evacuate an area. My recommendation is move all activities out of the building. Limit access to the building. Anyone who goes in should be required to wear a mask when you enter the building. Drain all water from the building. Make sure we've completely drained the water from the building. Winterize any required components. Secure and monitor the building. Make sure it's locked, monitored, security systems. We'll have somebody do a walkthrough periodically. I have gone so far. I have conferred with the building official, the fire marshal, and Kerma to make sure there's nothing that I needed to do beyond this. They have weighed in and told me what they thought needed to be done.
Can I make a suggestion? The only thing I can see on this list, and the reason I say it is maybe some dehumidification at the beginning of this winter, just to try to pull some of that extra moisture out of the building. Because now that with the brick and everything moisture loaded and you get into those freezing temperatures, that starts to lock up some of that, the joints and the grout and the brick, and it'll start to separate those even worse than they already have happened. I mean, I see it throughout New York City around those air conditioning holes. So maybe a couple of industrial dehumidifiers and some fans can help at least drive some of the moisture out to mitigate a little bit of the future damage. But obviously we're $12 million in, so it's not like it's going to do a lot, but hopefully it could save maybe a little bit of the other areas that have been moisture loaded.
To your point, Tom, today I sent out an email. I'm asking people who know more about this stuff than I do, what about the paintings? Is there something we need to do to protect the paintings when we start to put the heat down in the building?
Right.
The one thing I want to express is, even if you told me in this meeting right now, Jack, go heat the building, I'm not going to get the boiler going. I'm not going to be able to do it until I probably won't get done until the heating season's over.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons for the photos I took previously, the mayor had asked me to go in last year in December and January, in case the boiler just died. What could we do? I had lined up with the same company we used for the high school, Belfour, to bring in heat. Bring in a certain amount of heaters to each floor so that we could keep the building above freezing. So we had done that just as an emergency condition.
No, but I think your recommendation is prudent. My only recommendation would be if you can get a little bit of dehumidification going in there for a little while to help preserve potentially the paintings and some of the murals on the wall. I think it would be a help.
Any other questions for Jack concerning East Street School?
Jack, as of right now, the building is totally locked up.
It's locked up, yeah.
And who has keys for this building as it stands right now? Do you know if there's a lot of keys out on the building?
Do you have one? Do you have one?
I have a key, facility has a key, Jack has a key. I think Matt over
Matt has a key. I
at
believe Matt's on
BOE
it.
still has a key.
Maybe Camilla's cupboard might still have a key.
I'll follow up, ask Angie if she does.
Because we want to pull in all these keys and make sure nobody gets in that
Absolutely.
building.
All right. Jack?
Thank
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. Next is an update on American Relief Funds. We've had the same amounts as we've had prior, but just kind of is to go up through everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could 3, 2, 1, 3. And this is everything that we have appropriated, and kind of going kind of through an update of where we are right now with the American Relief Funds. So for instance, with the arts, community, and support, we had appropriated $125,000, and the Commission on the Arts is basically running that part of the endeavor with artists. So far to date, spent and encumbered is $10,073. Leaves you a balance right now of $114,926. As for the nonprofits, was $125,000 was appropriated. That's been fully expended. So that $125,000 has been allocated out to the nonprofits.
And where can we see to who?
To the nonprofits that applied, VCA, I can get you a list if you want of all of them.
The public should know, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, just to be clear, we disclosed all of that. The town council approved all of these funds. Then it went to the Board of Finance for approval.
Correct.
And then happened in the town meeting.
But-
So this was done in the light of day, very clearly.
125, we approved the 125, but which committee approved the 125 disbursement?
The nonprofits.
And that's Katie's the chair?
No, that's
Okay.
for the town nonprofits.
Okay, so who was
That's the
the
town.
chair,
The
who
ones that-
decided where this 125 went?
That was per the applications. That was first come, first served.
So,
I can get you the list.
so
of
your
those.
office?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it was a first come, first serve through the application,
Correct.
through the mayor?
Correct.
Okay.
And there were limits on that, right?
Yep, they're $5,000 limits, and they had to prove COVID eligibility.
Your authorization has been approved prior to
Absolutely.
do that.
We then have the child care assistance of $100,000. Right now, $16,631 has been expended of that. Business loans and grants, we appropriated $395,000. So far to date, encumbered is $310,000, which leaves about $85,000 left. I think there's like a couple in the pipeline, and those are being overseen by the Economic Development Corporation. They review those. Let's see, when you go to the fire marshal's office, altogether they did fire packs, software, iPads, radios. That was a total of $175,900. They've spent $154,876.22 so far. Then you've got the Gaylordsville Fire Department, and they've got global radios, the Lucas device, the AEDs, the air transport vacuum spine board, the backboards, the backstrap, the thermal imaging, Stokes basket, and 15 sets of turnout gear. We appropriated $312,421.25. So far spent is $307,833.64. That leaves so far balance left over $4,587. The Harry Brook Park Bridge, which we gave them funding for to give them kind of a Band-Aid to stay open. And we appropriated $126,000 to that. And then $42,631, I believe, was returned because they didn't need to use that much. And so they'd give us a check, and that was actually put back in, and we used that for part of reappropriating some additional funding. The Housatonic Water Safety Program, and that was given to the Housatonic Valley Association for $3,034. IT Department, their infrastructure and security upgrades.
The Housatonic was returned. The Housatonic Valley water was given back? Or
No, that was just given to them. We don't.
They didn't spend it yet?
They could spend it, yeah, however they want to spend it.
It was for river safety?
Yep. The IT department, so that was $292,423. So far, they've spent $263,691.36, which leaves a balance of $28,731.64. And I know they're waiting for some of the equipment to come in. Library, we were looking at makerspace and furniture, staffing of $83,774. Right now, they had broken those up on the furniture, looks like the makerspace line, they've only spent $9,609.60, leaving available balance of $50,164, and they haven't expended any funds yet on the furniture line, so that's $24,000 that hasn't been expended yet. The New Milford.
Did you say 24? So what hasn't, I want to make sure I'm reading this right.
Sure.
Under the library, 74,000 has not been expended, correct?
Correct. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
thank you.
Hillary. Yep, sorry about that. New Milford Ambulance Capital Equipment, $336,163.12. Then you have the adjustment for, looks like a communications equipment. So that was $370,251.91, which left a balance of 12 cents. And then it looks like with that adjustment for communications, it looks like there's $1,435.95 that Tammy said is being returned back to the town. The EMS operations manager, that's on a 2-year run, was $150,000 was appropriated for that. So far, $94,327.07 has been used, leaving $55,672.93. I don't know what the subtotal here is for the 30,000, so I'm gonna have to ask Greg what that is. I don't know what that is. The burn building for $410,525. $404,311 was spent for the building, leaving $6,214 still left available. The New Milford Sewer Compact Crawl Camera was for $38,000, and that was fully expended. And they continue to thank, right, Jack? Because you guys use it too. Yeah. They continue to thank the council and the town for that crawler. It's been very, very helpful for the sewer, the sewer guys down there that are working. Let's say the
abatement.
Yep, the abatement right now we're at $136,000. None of the abatement has been used as of yet, but
It will be as it's going through the processes.
So I thought we did that so that we were going to attract business.
Correct.
So why have we not implemented that?
Because it takes time to go from when you're thinking about moving into New Milford and building it. It goes through the zoning process or inland wetlands process first. They okay the process, then they may want to change the design or work within the design time frame. They get all that together, then look to go to build. Once they begin to build, it goes through a process.
Right.
Sewer's kind of towards the middle or toward the end of the process, and then they'll look to do the abatement once they decide that that's what they want to do.
So there haven't been any businesses that have said, we want an abatement.
We have
We haven't had
businesses-
any.
We have businesses that say they want to do it, they just haven't been into that phase yet.
Okay, so it's
That's
ready
why
to
I'm
go
saying
when
correct.
it's needed, so that we
Correct.
don't lose somebody for that reason.
Absolutely.
Got it, thank you.
The next one is the turnout gear, and that's at 51,000. This is for Northville. The portable radios, that was 18 of those. Mobile radio, 7, replacement for their fire nozzle, fire gear dryer, and the mobile fire gear storage rack. That was 104,714. Looks like they spent 104,000. She put the same, but it was like 9 cents a return back. For Park and Rec, they had the disc golf course, which is extremely up at a Clatterville, big time popular up there. That was appropriate 9,880, and that's what they used, so that's fully been expended. The outdoor movie theater, they're going to have Friday the 13th up at Len Deming with the movie, with our own movie theater, kind of testing that out. That's awesome. So again, 23,945 was appropriated, and they used fully used that. Then going to the police department for public safety, the de-escalator simulator, scheduling software, and the 4 medical kits. That in total came up to 113,421.88. Then you had 95,759.76, which leaves 17,662.12. It shows in here a munis budget of 103. I'm going to ask Tammy why that's different than 113, and I'll get back to you guys on that. Then we had the addiction and depression funding, which was at $24,000. And you had the sober housing. And I've got to check on the available funds, because I think those for the addiction and depression funding, I believe that's used. But I'll double check with Tammy on that.
That is used, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still showing available, but I'm sure that was used. And then the sober housing, that was for $33,000, that was fully expended. Then we have the reservoir dam for $1,200,000, and nothing has been expended yet. Jack, could you talk a little bit about the dam for those on town council and those in the audience and watching?
Yeah, actually, the consultant has gone up, they've done the hydrographs, they've done the study on the dam. They've come back to and talked to the department. We have 3 options before us presently. I've talked with the mayor, and I recommended that we bring that to a meeting, a public meeting. I believe that's going to be on your agenda, one of your upcoming town council meetings, so we can present the 3 ideas. I have the one that I think you should pick, but I think that it needs to go out to have 3, people voice their opinion of what we would look at doing there. I find one the least intrusive, and that's what I would think we would want to do. But they've done the engineering, the preliminary engineering. It's going to be I will tell you, the process is a little bit circuitous, if you will, because we have to work with, not only do we work with the consultant and the local inland wetlands, but we also have to work with DEP. It comes under the dam safety team and over DEP, and we work with them. So there's going to be some permitting involved, but I believe, once we make the selection, we can finalize the engineering on the dam and the spillway, and then get the permit from the state. They are very anxious for us to do this. It's considered a high hazard dam, so they are DEP is very anxious for us to get to do this, so they're working with us on this.
No Army Corps involvement in this?
Army Corps will be involved, but pretty much because it's going to be, inland wetlands going to go to them for approval, and it's under the dam safety, I think Army Corps will also move it right along. It's interesting because right now we're working on Army Corps with Mary L. Bridge, and it's interesting, I just sent them a letter one day just saying, hey, I want to finish this, what can I do? And they've jumped on in the last month, we've got moved quite a bit, so I think, they will be very anxious for us to do this.
Okay.
Jack? That's an earthen dam up there, is that correct?
It's an earthen dam, and what I found out also, it's an earthen dam, but there's a concrete, like in the middle of it, there's a concrete wall.
Is the reservoir full right to the brim right?
Yep.
Can we drain some of that off, take some of that weight off of that dam?
Well, we have them looking at it, and right now they're comfortable where it is. We can. If you remember, Paul, about a year and a half ago, we spent quite a few funds and went down.
Right.
There's a valve that we can go down. You couldn't operate it. We had Dayton Construction come in and actually go down in there, and they worked at it for several weeks, and they got the valve so it does actually operate now. And to that point, we haven't really closed the valve. We've closed it because we're holding water back, but we've left it open to keep it so that we can open any time to drain the dam.
Yeah, I'm just afraid of the weight of the water behind a earthen dam that's saturated.
Yep. We have, it gets inspected every week. Chuck Ballard at our office goes up and inspects it every week. He came back with a couple recommendations today. We've sent it to our engineers. They've already responded.
Thank you, Jack.
And Jack, while you're still there, I might as well ask him some of the other stuff.
I was trying to go home.
I know, I'm sorry. Pettibone roof repair?
That's out, that's already, we got the bid, we've written the PO. We are waiting for Greenwood. In fact, I saw David contact them again this morning. We're pushing to get that done. That repair will be that part of the building, and that's scheduled to happen, I'm hoping, before the end of this month.
And that's the encumbered portion.
That is the encumbered portion.
Which leaves us $45,900 left.
I think it's $99,000 we set aside.
It says 104,100.
We may have put.
Yeah. The next one is Lover's Leap and Boardman Bridge. Lover's Leap was 150 to look at, do we need to do repairs?
Yep.
Get an engineering and design firm to come in and take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to have, we talked about that recently, that in Boardman. For Boardman, I've talked to a company up in Heartland that does historic bridges, and I'm going to reach out to them again. On Lover's Leap, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to have, like we did at Boardman, Mike will take the drone up there, he'll do a complete scan of it, and then we can use that to talk with consultants about what we need to do.
And then Jack, Chernirsky Bridge, $600,000. I thought we used some of that money, Chernirsky Bridge.
We put the temporary bridge in, and I've been up. In fact, I was there on Sunday inspecting it. It's a single lane temporary bridge. Eventually, we will be going. We'll come before the council, see if they want to go and look at going, following up on we have a grant already awarded to us from the state of Connecticut.
Excellent. The Senior Advisory Board, that's the senior center, and that's where they do the requests from seniors that may need some sort of aid, whether it be rent help or whether it be through assistance with electricity or anything of that. Jasmine and her team vet those out, and they've expended $41,840.93, which leaves a balance of $33,296.82. The Domestic Violence and Family Advocate, this was part of the social services where we really honed in with the help of the police department, and Ivana Butera manages that, and so far it's $135,999.76, and it's showing here $125,788.92 is left, but I'm going to double check with her on that one.
Which one are you reading right now?
The Domestic Violence Family Advocate.
So we're showing 200 left.
We don't have the corrected copy that you have.
Yeah, this is different.
Yeah, this is totally different.
It says 200K totally approved. I'm going to ask Tammy about that one.
There seem to be a number of them that says
I don't know.
account needs to be established, and so we have no idea what was expended, and you have different numbers.
I think he's seeing the same thing.
I'm seeing the same thing. That's why I said I gotta check that out. I'll ask Tammy, because she's the one
So
that
real
does
quick,
this.
though, just so that we understand, this is the list of who we approved and
Correct.
was approved by town council, board of
Correct.
finance, and a town meeting.
Correct.
What has been expended, we're gonna
I'm
need
just
to get
trying to give an
on.
update.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the only thing that's really missing here.
Yeah.
Is maybe what is an updated expenditure.
The Hope Fund and the Good Samaritan Funds are run by Social Services, Ivana Butera. Their group, each one got appropriated $100,000. On the Hope Fund, $37,893 has been expended so far.
I have a question on those, if you don't
Uh-huh,
mind.
absolutely.
So
And
we
on-
approved those amounts, but we never approved a cap in this council. So I'm just wondering if we can maybe change that so this gets spent to people who need it. Maybe we should up the cap to 5,000 or something.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, but we never did approve that. So that's been happening. I think it's $500 that the cap is?
I think it's 1,000, but you want me to bring Ivana in the next meeting? She can talk
Well,
more about it?
She's
Like
got
what she
people
thinks,
who-
since she deals with the people that are requesting this all
And
the time.
people
to
could
see what
use
she's-
more.
We can, absolutely, we
sitting
can
here.
ask her.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So let me make a note of that for the next meeting.
We don't have a balance on this, right?
On the Hope Fund is 37,000 they've expended, so 62,106.01 left. On the Good Samaritan Fund, again run by Social Services, is 30,616 has been spent, which leaves 69,384. We appropriated a freezer for them for 7,500. They looks like they expended all but $602, which was returned back to the fund. The barn roof replacement at Sullivan Farm for $64,000. It looks like they returned $15,625 back into the fund on, looks like 4/14. Farm crew supervisor and manager, $160,000 was appropriated. So far, $137,424.04 has been expended, which leaves $22,575. The Brownsfield and Community Challenge grant match for $500,000, $16,000 has been expended so far, which leaves $484,000. The Capital Improvement Loan Program, $150,000 was appropriated. $11,998.84 has been expended, leaving $138,001.16. The town COVID response, $500,000, $113,914.23, leaving $386,8577. A big portion of this is going to get put back into the fund as we are dwindling from COVID. So I'd say most of this, if not all of this that's left, will more than likely be reappropriated for us to use in whatever ways the council.
402,000.
This is his number was like 380.
Mine says 386,8577.
Okay, but that big number, yeah, thank you.
The roof and HVAC systems, $100,000, and this is from VFW. They returned $4,915.60. And then Water Witch Hose, they were appropriated $107,205. Was the airbag system, rescue boat, underwater sonar, drying cabinets, washing machine, drone, vortex, washing machine, other adjustments. They were appropriated $107,205, and it looks like they returned $11,918.10. Then the youth agency has their two counselors, youth counselors, $207,787.50. $28,672.06 they've expended so far, leaving $179,115.44. And then you have the FICA that was also in with that as well. And then the Medicare. I'm going to ask Tammy to quantify this because it's confusing to me as well. It's confusing.
So the numbers are very different.
Yeah, those are confusing. The
It's the main appropriation that
The Butterbrook
we at least have a list of.
roof repairs at $90,000. I know Charles Bogey with the Municipal Building Committee has been working with Butterbrook to, there's some areas within Butterbrook on the main side there that need repair. So he's working with them to get that fixed with the $90,000. VFW American Legion Veterans Medical Equipment, $17,500, has not been expended, still leaving $17,500. I believe the commander is gonna come.
On
Paul?
that, I contacted the commander of the American Legion, told him either return the 17.5 to you or let the commander of the VFW, because we parted both ways on this, let the commander of the VFW take over purchasing the equipment.
Okay.
So it's going to get purchased. There's no wheelchairs, walkers, or anything available for any veteran in town right now.
The Healthy Savings Program, did I just, no, the silo, sorry. The Legion of Demo Equipment, that was $107,500. They've expended so far to date $19,860.35, leaving $87,639.65.
So, excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So our paperwork says account needs to be established in Munis. We don't have the same numbers you do on a lot of these lines. Thank you, Steph.
We do not have the same numbers.
The adjusted number, you mean?
Correct. The
adjusted
adjusted, the
expenditure to
available
what is
funds,
left over.
the available
Right.
funds in the account are different. than
Yeah, I'm
what-
just going, I'm going off
So
of,
maybe he went.
I'm going
a
off of
day
Munis, yeah.
later. Okay.
I'm going off our electronic Munis.
So what we have is
I
not
see what you're
complete.
saying
A
there.
couple days behind or something.
I got you. I'll add Munis into yours and
Yeah,
send,
it's all right.
Okay, so then in the record will be the corrected copy that Stephanie's going to use, not the one she has in her hand.
yeah,
Is that-
because I pulled that down from Munis before I got here so I could talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next is the Healthy Savings Program, the United Way, for $10,000. They fully expended that. The Brookside HVAC system, that's all been used, right, Mary Jane, the 40? Yep, that's all done. RVNA for $2,500, that's been fully expended. Camella's covered student summer food program for $40,000, that was fully expended. The FICA for the domestic violence and the Medicare, those are, I'm showing not expended, but I want to check again with Tammy on this thing because that's part of payroll, so I'm assuming that's been used.
The last line item on our sheet was Camilla's cupboard.
Yeah, I'm just looking at here, it says domestic violence counselor, FICA, and Medicaid. That was for the first one for social services.
Right.
This just pulled down out of Munis for that, so I'll find out.
And your total reads?
I have $7,098,849.91.
We have 4 million. Okay.
The date on this one is 10/6, so there's a timing issue.
Yeah, yeah,
If
no,
you
I
just
know the
pull that
timing. I know the
so-
timing, but how is
So the
this more?
available funds in
This
the
should be
account
less.
is how much?
What's that?
The
Not expended.
available, the last
Be more expended.
number,
I'm asking for
very
what's
last
remaining.
in the last
you
column.
didn't specify.
How much is still available?
That's what I was asking. The availability.
There, right now, actual balance, $5,017.73.
The total, the available funds in account total, we have 4,751,751 available.
Because
That's
the
what we
numbers,
show.
because the numbers weren't corrected.
But I'm just asking, what is your total available number that
He
you've
just
got over
said
there?
$5,017.
So I have total actual balance available is
5,000.
$5,017.73. Are you asking like
I'm-
what's,
No, I'm asking
This
for
one.
available funds in account.
Yes.
So the unspent funds.
oh, I'm sorry, unspent is,
Probably gonna be around 4 million.
I have 4,269,938.12.
260.
But that's a
those-
combination of
That money's that
returned
haven't
money
been
and money that hasn't
correct.
been expended yet.
The money that would be unencumbered, meaning it hasn't been appropriated yet by this body, is $5,017.73.
Okay.
What's our suspense date on everybody
Suspense
purchasing
day,
items? Yeah,
you have to have this appropriated by 2025.
we had a month there.
What's that?
2025, what month, January or?
I would assume January you'd want it done,
2025.
but I'll double check.
Thank you for the update.
Pete, just one quick question on the
Yep.
Hope Fund. Hillary had mentioned it's capped at 500. We want to talk about 1,000.
I think
Is that a one-time?
I said he thinks it's 1,000.
Yeah,
I think, Doug, it's 1,000, but I want to bring Yvonne in because they run the program. I don't.
Do that immediately.
And is it a one-time application, or can you do it yearly?
Yep. No, with ARPA funds, you only do it as one time.
So a person can only apply for it once?
For ARPA.
Right.
The Hope Fund, that's why I want to bring Ivana in, you may be able to go to that fund a couple of times. I'm not
Right.
really sure.
So when she comes
But
in,
as
she'll be
far-
able-
Right,
okay.
but as far as ARPA, it's.
Because
one
I'd like to
time.
see people like, every year come in and maybe they could help offset costs, heating. I know we have another fund for that, but if there is some,
So we
you
do
said
have the
62,000.
heating fund.
Yeah, okay.
And, I think we should bring Ivana in. She knows it much better than I would know.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would leave it to Yvonne's discretion, but I would like to make a motion that we raise that cap if it's coming from your office to her. I think we should make a motion to raise the cap to 1,000. If she has discretion, that you give her for, but I think
Hillary-
we should raise that cap immediately.
I think it is 1,000 already. Did you want to raise it to more
Let's
than that?
raise it to 2,000, 3,000,
put it-
5,000.
I'd like to hear what Ivana has to say.
Can we put it on the agenda for next time and
Absolutely.
have her come in and then we can vote in 2 weeks?
Okay, it's just,
As long as she's got money available now for
Right.
anyone who asks.
okay.
So we'll put it on the agenda for 2
Yep,
weeks.
I
and then
already
we can
had it
vote on
written
it
down
then
to have her.
when we
have
get
her come to the
information
next
from her.
meeting.
Just so we get information from her.
Are you withdrawing your motion?
Yes, I'm withdrawing the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on ARPA? All right, thank you, everybody. Next is discussion on the New Milford being part of the Sustainability Community Network. So come on up. And those you had in your packets, talk a little bit about this solar program.
I also have a flyer I can give out to everybody that's still here in the audience. That
Can you just give your name? Can you give your name?
Yeah, my name's Jeff Kirks. I'm with Electric Power. I'm the VP of Government Programs. And most of this, I believe you already have, but we're going to go ahead and do a little PowerPoint presentation, relatively quickly, and then I'll take any questions and answer anything that you might have.
All right, I see two. Electric Power, New Milford, ZC.
That's the one. You guys are New Milford, not Derby. All right, great. And then just,
Yep.
and then I just click that button, right?
Yep, so left,
Right.
and then the red one, laser. There you
Got
go.
it, all right. So this program has been developed specifically by Electric Power to offer to municipalities so that we can really make an impact on actual homeowners' usage and saving them money in order to be able to go solar, green, battery in the program. Our management team has an enormous amount of experience in this industry. The program itself, the company itself, was founded in 2014, and we started out as a battery company specifically. So really what we do is make batteries, and we did that for a number of years, and we realized that batteries work better with a program. So we developed a program called the Sustainable Communities Network Program. Our company mission: panoramic, prudent, and parity. Panoramic meaning everyone. Prudent meaning we're looking to save everybody money, and parity meaning everybody's equal in the program. This is our management team again, for some reason. So the way that the community solar program, the way the Sustainable Community Network program works is, first of all, the community partner wins, and you being the city would be our community partner by offering their constituents with having basically individual microgrids in their home. So we're not talking about somewhere else. This is point of contact, power generation That's a picture of the battery that would be installed on everyone's home. That's an idea of the type of panel. I actually have a pointer, don't I? That's the idea, well, maybe not. Whatever. That's the idea of the panel that would be on the actual roof. So we're creating power on site for the homeowner. The homeowner wins because we're saving approximately 20% in Connecticut on your utility bill. So whatever the system produces, so say you're producing 1,000 kilowatts a month, you're paying roughly 22 to 28 cents for that kilowatt usage per month. We would save you roughly 20% off that. The customer also gets a battery, which means that, and you all were talking about this earlier with power outages and flooding and things of that nature, even if you had solar, unless you have a generator or some type of backup, it's going to be useless to you because you won't be able to turn the inverter on. The inverter won't be able to process the power that's generating from the panels. We, with our battery, can turn that inverter on so you would have power the next day. You would have power within an hour, as well as having a backup power system that's good for a 10 kilowatt battery, can give you approximately 4 hours of continuous power, not running the HVAC, just running lighting and maybe refrigeration so that you don't lose any food storage. The homeowner wins in that way, and then this is a 25-year PPA, meaning purchase power agreement that we have with the homeowner. They have, call it a turnkey system. We install, we manage, we operate, and we control the system for the homeowner. That anything happens, we automatically will fix it. And there's a vested interest in this because if it's not producing power, we're not making any revenue. So it's a built-in guarantee that the system is actually working. Whereas with a lease, nobody cares because the lease payment's being made. You may have an issue and the actual company may not really care as much because their revenue is being generated by monthly payment instead of actually by the power produced by the system. This is an idea of how we would go into market. So we would do marketing outreach. We would design the PPA with you, which we pretty much have already sent over the major master agreement. Then we go through permitting and installation, and then we manage all ongoing operations. This is some of the marketing that we've already put into place in different cities throughout the country. So we have a program brochure, presentation flyer, home savings estimate. We do broadcast radio in some places, direct mail, door hanger, and then door to door. And I believe, and then this is a little bit more about the actual collateral that we can use for websites, FAQs, website landing page, social advertising. So the way we envision the program is it would be called Power Up New Milford. New Milford, we would be on a landing page with you, advertising the program to your citizens in the area. The first thing we would do is we would sign our agreement, which is what we're discussing today, and you should all have a copy of. Then we would start a direct mail campaign, social media campaign, signage, sales collateral, maybe even Chamber of Commerce. Then we would go through radio advertisements, residential direct mail, canvassing, and then we go to audience testing, HOAs, realtors, things of that nature. And then finally, new feeder channels that we could possibly tap into, realtors, HOAs, landlords, outreach companies, all of those things. The idea is to get roughly a sales force generating between 10 and 12 agents and start a ground up marketing campaign throughout the city, like we would in Derby, like we would in some other cities that we're already talking to. Timeline, pretty quickly we could get operational with the review of the marketing targets and finalizing all our contracts. Then we would do a program kickoff. Everybody would be involved in the program kickoff. Then we go into implementation phase where we're actually sending the marketing out. We're having a call center generate scripts. We're doing local installation team setup. We're hiring sales reps, initial meetings with local jurisdictions and so forth. And then finally the 60 to 120 day customer installation period, which includes initial marketing, outreach, installation, permitting, and ongoing monitoring. So we're talking about signing the SIMPA now. Then we would do the marketing kickoff. Then we would develop the marketing collateral specifically for your New Milford team, and then we would launch marketing and begin installation right after that. Any questions? I'm sure there are several. I tried to make it brief because I know everybody's had a long day.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around what we're doing here. So you're taking panels, you're putting them on a residential roof. That customer is getting power from those panels. There's a battery there. Where does the town, why aren't you just reaching out to retail customers like anybody else?
Precisely. Well, one of the reasons is, number one, is by talking to the town first, the town will actually become a partner with us when we reach out to the citizens. So we're saying, you know, we've discussed this, we've worked out this with your attorney, this is what the agreement looks like, it's exactly what it says it is, and it's Power Up New Milford.
Well, why do we want to partner with you?
Because you would get a revenue stream generated from the purchase power agreement. I forgot that part. You actually, as the town, are part of the revenue stream that's generated from the purchase power agreement, which you can earmark for whatever you would like to earmark it for. General fund, low-income housing, whatever it is that you want to do, or even subsidizing seniors or people that need to have a lower purchase power agreement.
Is there a minimum number of residences that need to buy in to make this work?
I mean, not really. We can do it with as little as 100, so which should be very simple in this area. But we also would think about Mayor Pete and Jack and I talked about some of your senior centers that you might want to have this program put on, which would be more than enough to start the program in your area.
So you've got a 5% monthly revenue fee off the PPA coming to the town.
Correct.
But it looks like you've got your first bit of revenues is going to go into an escrow account. It's initially established, kind of like an insurance policy. And then the 5% revenue will flow to us after that.
After the threshold of the escrow account has been reached, correct.
And what's the threshold of the escrow?
I believe for you it was relatively little. I don't have the contract in front of me, but less than.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
$175 per home enrolled.
Correct.
And then after that, we've got a 5%
And
revenue share.
that would be your escrow balance, and then after that, you would be able to, fully take into whatever the PPA rate generated for each home.
Okay.
And typically, quick lesson on electric bills and default rates. Nationwide, utility bills are like a 3% default rate nationwide. In an area like this, you're probably looking at significantly less. In our programs in Santa Barbara, in Puerto Rico, in Washington, D.C., we have a very low default rate because if they don't pay their solar bill, they have to pay more money to the utility for that same power. So it's a very appealing agreement for the homeowner.
Do you have any other towns similar in our size, in our part of the country that you've been working with?
We just signed up Derby, which I'm sure you're aware of, is relatively smaller than you, but...
I'm looking for somebody who's maybe got a year or two track record with you guys.
With that, you would be looking at another state. We just came into Connecticut the last few months.
Any other where in the Northeast, let's say, where we have similar weather patterns?
Weather patterns? No. Most of our projects are in California, Puerto Rico, and D.C. right now. We're moving into the Connecticut region. Specifically, my job is to move into the Connecticut region and the East Coast.
What's the average watt put out for a home per day?
That's a good question. It would depend on the size of the home. But
just give me an average.
Call it 1,000 kilowatts per month.
And what would the battery hold?
The battery is a 10 kilowatt battery, or it could be as high as a 15 kilowatt battery. We'll size the battery based on the system size, but you're looking at 10 kilowatts.
And so you're guessing that a normal home would only have 4 or 5 hours to run on that?
Correct.
If they lost power.
And remember, the kilowatt usage is how much you can get per hour.
Right.
So,
now, are you guys only into solar, or are you into fuel cell energy as well?
We've looked at, it's funny you mentioned that, because we did an RFP for the state of Connecticut, of Rhode Island, that we incorporated fuel cell technology into that RFP. We don't really, or at least as of yet, have looked at it for Connecticut, but we did look at it for this particular RFP.
And I know, just one last question. So I know the benefits of solar in different areas of the country are higher than, you know, say, other parts of the country. Like if you're in Arizona, or it's more sunny, or this, so you don't have, other than just DC, nothing else in the Northeast that can?
Not in the Northeast yet, no, but we're in the conversation with multiple towns right now.
Okay.
And we've already modeled your area. Your installation rate in this area is like 1320, as opposed to 1600 in California. So there is a lower installation rate here, but when you factor in the battery and you factor in the ability of backup, it still pencils.
Just one more, Chris.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Maintenance, and obviously a lot of people want to talk about, okay, you got to put it on your house, you got to get maintenance, clearing for snow.
We manage all the maintenance. If there's clearing for snow, chances are it's not going to be, the panels aren't going to be, you know, the snow's going to run off the panels as soon as they start heating up.
Well, I know, again, we go back to what part of the country. Obviously, you know, we're in the Northeast, we get more snow during the winter.
Right,
blah, blah,
sure.
blah, so, okay, thank you.
But panels, snow coverage shouldn't be an issue for the panels.
And that's where I was going.
With the
Well,
heat
thank you.
generated
So
from the
thanks for that.
panels.
But how many, so if there's maintenance needed on a battery or panels need replacement of that, how many maintenance people, service people will you have locally?
We have a national team that will, you know, work with the Connecticut team to build up the maintenance and O&M.
Where is the national team located?
Where the national team is located all over the country. They're based out of Texas, but they're a national company that has a footprint in the Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, DC region.
Oh, so it's a company you subcontract to?
No, they work directly
They're your
for us.
employees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hillary?
How does this differ from community choice aggregation type of a situation?
Well, community choice aggregation
Yeah.
doesn't have on-site power generation. So if your power went out, wouldn't matter if you were part of the community choice program, because that's power being generated somewhere else. Number one, this is on-site power generation. Picture it like a little microgrid for the homeowner that gives them the resiliency that if the power did go out, they're able to still have their lights, their refrigeration, that kind of thing.
What about
Heat.
in the winter? Suck up a lot of the.
Heat, definitely. I mean, we would do a critical loads panel and analyze the actual. So when we sign up a home, we'll do an analysis of what the home uses. We'll attach the major things that they're concerned with to the critical loads panel that we'll click on first for the battery. So for here in California, it would be HVAC. In here, it might be heat. But that's if you have electric heat. If you have gas heat, then we wouldn't be able to work with that, obviously, or oil or some of it.
Oil would kick on, where electric would run the burner.
Correct.
But it wouldn't draw as much of a load as if you had electric heat or if you're running your AC.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. You're only offering this for roof-mounted solar, right? This is not a ground-mounted situation.
This is not a ground-mounted system.
Because we have a lot of people who are against the roof mounts, and we have a lot of our firemen who are also against it because they're getting on these buildings in the middle of a fire and sliding off. So I understand your industry. I'll go as far as saying that. I would love to see it if it was also ground mount availability, which I know is difficult because you want it attached to the house. I get it. But ground mount is obviously a cheaper way to go and also doesn't have any opposition from the fire department. So just putting that out there for you.
To follow that train of thought, to get 1 megawatt of power, you need 5 acres of land.
Well, it depends on where you are. If you're at the top of the hill, if you're on an articulating arm that can follow the sun, it's a totally different ball of wax. So
Now
we're
you're
not
talking
going down
about-
that road,
yeah,
I understand.
it's a lot more expensive.
I personally would like to really review this before I put my endorsement on this. Being in the energy field, not in your field at all, but I work with people in your field. I would really like to review this and go over it.
Plus
I like
non-rate.
the concept of community solar. and the microgrids that alleviate people's pressure from
Tom?
New York or
Plus Randy is not here tonight.
Right.
He needs to opine on all of our
all of this.
contracts
That's what
to see if there's anything he needs to put in.
Chris, what permission are they looking from us, and what, I'm not understanding, like you said, it's a residential thing.
It is a
What are you
residential
looking
thing.
from us to give you permission to do?
Basically, all we're looking for you to give us permission to do is to allow us to say it's the Town of New Milford Power Up Solar Program, be on your website in some capacity, maybe be at community events together. The mayor and I can do a press release together, that kind of thing. It's a very low bar for you guys. in reality.
it's basically getting us to promote it and picking up a 5% community host
Correct.
benefit fee.
You got
That's
it.
basically what it is.
There's no legal requirement for you.
And
if
there's
that's
no
what you're-
cost to us.
There's no cost to you in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, you make money on the program.
So you would need clarification from Randy if we're allowed to.
Plus two,
Yeah,
plus two,
to do
any,
this.
any questions the council may have as you're reviewing it. Then we can do is send it over, and then when you come back at the next meeting, you can answer those questions, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions coming from the council, the public, and everybody with what they feel about something
This
like
may
this.
be something we want to wait till after the election.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I like it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for waiting.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
No problem. I've been to
Thank
meetings
you.
ma-
Thank you for
many
the
times.
presentation. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, next is the discussion and possible action on appropriating up to $85,000 for the implementation of a fair rent commission, which includes but not limited to the clerk, the attorney, materials, and supplies.
Second.
Was that your motion?
Sure. And we have a second. Any discussion? Chris?
I guess I'll just make a statement that I think we have to do it. I'm going to vote for it, but thank you, Hartford, for another unfunded mandate.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
And may I ask, if this motion does go, can I add to the motion that we have our finance director have the ability to choose the account, whether it be from the unassigned or from the contingency, to let him decide which accounts that would come out of?
Sure.
And on Chris's note, if we don't vote for it and it's a mandate, then we get yelled at by the state. So it's, I mean,
We don't have to have this. Yeah. We don't have to have this.
We think we need to do it halfway.
But just to be
Right.
clear, they're not mandating that we have a secretary. that,
This is the
you know,
best practices
So you're
that the-
putting
You can't
forward,
manage it
I'm
without
just saying
Right.
that, let's be clear, they're not
Correct.
mandating that we spend
Well,
$85,000.
we could do it until we screw it up and not spend this, but I think we'd like to do it kind
To-
of right.
To answer your question, Hillary, correct, but to be in compliance with what this ordinance, state ordinance requires, we do need to have a clerk, we need to have an attorney, as we follow the best practices that we've seen from other towns that are larger than ours, that have been successful in doing this. So it's just emulating what they do. And this will be something that will have to be put in the budget moving forward as an operational budgeted item.
We'll see how much it costs the first year.
Correct.
We adjust.
Yep.
great to have somebody volunteer for free, wouldn't it?
That's right. There we go.
If there's anybody else.
Maybe I will do
If there's
it.
anybody else.
Pro bono attorneys.
We
We got some pro bono work for you.
So we have a,
we have to volunteer.
so we have a motion and we have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Adjourn.
Second.
I'd like to make one motion quickly to add something to the agenda. I'm sorry, but it's very important. And I put it in writing for Aquarian, for the project up there on that hill. I got a letter from a resident about a meeting that's happening, and I just wanted to hear what is going on up there. I saw, pictures of pipes, so I wanted to know if you would just let us know exactly what is going on up there.
So when you had asked me to put it on the agenda,
Yeah.
you didn't specify as to what you were asking for. I was just made aware of it myself, so I'm asking Aquarian to give me a synopsis as to what they're doing up there.
You were just made aware of this project?
Correct.
So they can rip up our roads and lay down all this pipe without getting
No.
your approval?
They can come in and request for roads to be opened up, but as far as the actual engineering design, how big the project is, that all goes through approvals that I may not know about.
Okay, so I started
As a
digging
utility.
around, but are you aware or have you been informed about any type of poor water quality
Correct.
from those wells? Have you been?
Of those
notified?
wells there, no.
Meadowbrook?
Of other areas within the town, as they rechange and redo their water mains, like say, for instance, over here on Wellsville, yes. This particular one, I don't have all that information, but I'm gonna get it to you guys, and we'll have it on the next agenda.
So
That's why I didn't put it,
So Aquarian
That's why I didn't put it on there.
didn't apply for permitting or anything?
they could apply for water permitting through our health district,
For
which is
laying
the
the pipe
district.
work for this project?
The pipe work could have been approved by our Public Works department, depending on what road it is, and the engineering. But if it didn't quantitate to a road project that the town finances, or a bridge that the town finances, sometimes I'm not aware of those. One thing that I did ask the Public Works whenever we're doing these water main projects, before, as you've seen, like as they're doing the new Aquarian building that's across the street from Big Y. You see where they only patch that little piece, I hit that every time like everybody else. We've asked them moving forward that you go curb to curb and you go width to width on there, so you don't have these edges. But I will find out, and I will give it to the council.
All right, so you've not been made aware of any poor quality of water testing up there? Because
No,
I saw that their markers are higher than what they should be for PFAS, right? So there's a new limit, and they are higher than they should be. So the public up there that's drinking from have not been made aware of that?
Hillary, I can't conjecture on something that I don't know. That would be a health
Okay.
district issue.
Okay, so I should
that
reach
would
out
come
to the health district?
Yeah, I would reach out to Amy, who's our health district director. I know I'm going to tomorrow.
Are you going to the
I also
meeting this meeting?
I also reached out to Aquarian
Yeah.
and asked them if they could give me an update on what is going on so that I can apprise the council.
Okay. I can tell you what's going on is that the PFAS levels are high in those two wells. So people are drinking from there.
Aquarian wells?
I wonder what,
Are there Aquarian wells or their own wells?
they're the wells, they're Meadowbrook and Dean Heights. Are those the two names of the wells up there?
Is that on the community,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, is it a community well?
I don't.
Yes, it's community
They're community
wells. Right, so if those are high, people with private wells might want to test their water. And we might want to let everybody know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Some community wells
Because-
are also managed by the community though, too. So
Right.
that's, you have to distinguish, it's a private well, Aquarian, or a private water.
I'm just surprised Aquarian doesn't let you know this project.
Yeah, utility.
Hillary, it may not even be an Aquarian, it may be a community system and not an Aquarian system. That's why I reached out to them. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think on a footnote, everybody should get the water tested, really.
Absolutely.
Not only just there, but everywhere.
But there's some reason that they're laying all these pipes down, right?
Well,
And,
the ones that I do know about, so let's say Wellsville area, that's because of the age of the infrastructure is so old and they've been having breaks. So they're adding in new infrastructure as the life of these pipes expire. As far as where you're talking about up there, I don't know, not 100% sure.
Right.
That's why I reached out to Aquarian. We'll be talking to the health district. And then I can reach back out to you guys and give you whatever information that they give me.
okay, just for a basic Google search, 2022 reveals that the PFAS levels are higher than allowed. So that now it's been a year and they haven't tested and now there's a huge project going on up there. I'm very curious about that. So,
Hillary,
I hope, are you
I'm-
going to go to
I'm-
this meeting?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
as concerned as you are, but I'm not going to conjecture on something that I don't know as of yet. But I will be. We have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
No, we're doing.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.